Chapter 1176. She looked around. Oh, Jean-Ma was one of the judges. But he only appeared in the second round. Today, he was only here to show his face at the end of the show. So Jiang Ro knew that Oh Jean-Ma was here too. But there were too many people, so she didn't see him at all. Jiang Ro saw Wei Wei Bai on stage, but she looked down on her. What good songs could she have? So she didn't pay attention to Wei Wei Bai. But suddenly, a familiar prelude shattered her hearing. What was this? Why did this song sound so familiar? Jiang Ro turned around abruptly and saw the stage. She sat quietly in front of the microphone in the middle of the huge and gorgeous stage. She was holding a guitar, wearing a simple long dress and a white long-sleeved top. Her long hair cascaded down her back. She lowered her eyes, holding a plectrum with her slender and fair fingers, sliding across the guitar like flowing water. A series of simple yet beautiful notes appeared. The notes connected into a line, and she spoke tirelessly. Although it was a confession, it was so calm and peaceful. Occasionally, there was a hint of nervousness, but it was all in the melody. Delicate and beautiful, it was so warm to the bone. Wei Wei Bai gently hummed the prelude, and the sound was so comfortable that people's ears were about to fall asleep. Then she opened her mouth, and her beautiful voice soared. Holding your beauty in my hands, I'm careful not to break it. It's easy to love you, but a confession makes me back off. The lyrics were simple and straightforward. It was a sweet cookie. But it made the tired judges and audience immediately straighten their backs and listen carefully. The song, the lyrics, and even the person singing. It was just right. This kind of temperament swept away the impetuous noise of the competition. There was only a simple guitar and a girl. He listened to her sing a stumbling but sweet confession journey. The stage was so big, but her voice stole everyone's attention. There was a kind of light, not necessarily the sun. But it was impossible to ignore, and even made people feel happy. This was a natural stage sense, an innate talent. Oh Jean-Ma had just walked behind the scenes when he heard her singing. His footsteps paused, and his heart skipped a beat. Was this song going to confess to him? After Wei Wei Bai finished her song, she got off the stage and glanced at Jiang Ro, who was sitting below. Jiang Ro's expression changed. Her fingers trembled as she looked at Wei Wei Bai in disbelief. How could this be? How could a song composed by Oh Jean-Ma be in Wei Wei Bai's hands? The song she was going to sing was Wei Wei Bai's song. If Wei Wei Bai sang first and she sang later, wouldn't she be considered a plagiarist? History repeated itself, but this time, her and Wei Wei Bai's positions were reversed. Jiang Ro was so angry that she took out her phone and called Oh Jean-Ma. Did Oh Jean-Ma give her the song? Impossible. She knew how much her brother hated this woman. So Wei Wei Bai was the one who stole it. It must be. Her brother was so unguarded. It was possible that Wei Wei Bai stole the song. The call did not go through. Jiang Ro started to panic. What should she do? Wei Wei Bai sang the song. As for what she was going to sing later, she had no choice but to ask her manager for help. She had to negotiate with the production team to change the song. Luckily, her new song had not been released on Weibo yet. Otherwise, it would be the same as Wei Wei Bai's song, and she would be accused of plagiarism again. After Wei Wei Bai walked out, she said to the system, Tongzi, help Jiang Ro release her new song. The system nodded. Okay, I've helped her release it. It was familiar with Weibo, so it went behind the scenes. It helped Jiang Ro release the song. It also changed the song's composer to Jiang Ro. This time, Jiang Ro was the one who wrote the song. Chapter 1177. On the internet, Fans who were crusading against Wei Wei Bai had been watching the live broadcast. They wanted to see Wei Wei Bai make a fool of herself. In the end, it was too good, too warm, too sweet. What should they do when they were going to be anti-fans? This song is not bad, even though the singer is ugly. Carrot, don't be blind. How can that be called ugly? Did your aesthetic standards get into a car accident? Ugly is ugly. Not only is she ugly, but she also has a bad character. She's a kept woman. You saw that she's a kept woman. Where's the evidence? You're being anti-fans. A new round of public opinion war was about to begin. In the end, Jiang Rou's new song was released. It gave anti-fans, fans, passers-by, and onlookers a shock. This song was also called Confession. Although the lyrics were different. But the tune was basically the same as Wei Wei Bai's song. And what was even more tragic was that Wei Wei Bai's song actually sounded better than Jiang Rou's. Being good was one thing. Jiang Rou's new song was released even later than Wei Wei Bai's. And the song's author was Jiang Rou. As for Bai Weiwei's good songs, the lyrics were also her own. Who on earth wrote this song? For a moment, everyone on the internet was dumbfounded. They had just experienced the impact of Oh Jin Ma's budding love. The bomb of Jiang Rou and Wei Wei Bai clashing songs came again. The trending searches were so busy. Jiang Rou still didn't know what was happening on the internet. She heard the host start to introduce her. After a series of polite compliments, the host said, "Let's welcome the little diva Jiang Rou to bring us her new song, Confession." Jiang Rou was already smiling as she went on stage with the microphone. But just as she was about to sing, the host's introduction made her freeze. Confession. Didn't she ask the program team to change the song? How could there be a mistake in the introduction? Surprisingly, the song was not changed. The program group's orchestra began to play the same accompaniment as Wei Wei Bai's Confession. Jiang Rou stood on the stage with a pale face. This was a live broadcast. She had no choice but to open her mouth and sing. She stared at everyone's puzzled eyes and began to sing. Because she was too flustered, the song was not interesting at all. This song had a gentle tune to begin with. What was beautiful about it was that kind of light sweetness, but it was also especially heartwarming. Jiang Rou did not sing at all. And compared to Wei Wei Bai's song, the lyrics were too cumbersome. Jiang Rou held back her anger and finished singing the song. Then, she didn't finish singing. Instead, he stood on the stage and glared angrily at the audience. I was originally very happy to be here today because it was the release day of my new song. But I realized that my song was stolen by someone. How could such a vile contestant participate in this show? Everyone looked at Wei Wei Bai, who was below the stage. Wei Wei Bai looked back indifferently. Then, with a push of her hand, she jumped onto the stage. She did not have stage fright at all and took the microphone from the host. Then, she walked in front of Jiang Rou and looked at her coldly. Coincidentally, I was also very happy today because it was my first time participating in a show. But I realized that my song was stolen by someone. Such a vile thief, and she's actually a heavenly queen of the music industry. This was a confrontation. In an instant, the entire venue and the audience watching the live broadcast exploded. Jiang Rou's expression was fierce. Wei Wei Bai, you know very well how this song came about. It couldn't have been written by you. Wei Wei Bai was extremely calm. It really was written by me. Don't tell me it was written by you. Jiang Rou was so angry that she couldn't calm down. Suddenly, she saw Oh Jin Ma below the stage. She immediately shouted aggrievedly, "Brother, someone stole your song. This song was clearly written by you and you were the one who gave it to me." This woman stole your song. Everyone looked at Oh Jinma, who was below the stage. The director was also excited. Quick, quick, give the camera to Oh Jinma. Oh Jinma stood under the lights. His amber eyes reflected the light and there was a clear coldness to them. His skin was as white as porcelain. He should have had an innocent and beautiful face, but at this moment, there was a hint of coldness. Then, he slowly revealed a smile. The coldness in his eyes disappeared and was replaced by an innocent look. His thin lips moved slightly. His voice was so gentle, but the words that came out of his mouth were extremely cruel. I've never written this song, and I've never given it to you, sister. Chapter 1178. Jiang Ro's ears started ringing. She staggered a few steps and her legs almost turned to jelly on the stage. Her voice trembled as she said, "Brother, this song was clearly written by you. I still have the original manuscript." Oh Jinma's thick and long eyelashes drooped down and a shadow appeared under his eyes. However, his amber eyes were still beautiful and puzzled. He tilted his head a little absent-mindedly and habitually used his most innocent and pure side to face the camera. His voice was gentle and at a loss. Original manuscript. Oh, you mean the piece of paper you picked up on the floor? Jiang Ro trembled. She had stolen it. But he had said that he had picked it up. Her brother still felt sorry for her. Her expression immediately turned joyful. Yes, brother. Didn't you write that song? It's your handwriting. She had to quickly put that piece of paper on Weibo to prove her innocence. Oh Jinma lowered his head and seemed to be thinking about something. Then he seemed to remember something and casually tugged at his turtleneck shirt, revealing his fair neck and Adam's apple. He was seductive but unaware. His actions carried a hint of innocence. People couldn't help but follow his every movement. He made sure that everyone's gaze was captured by him. The man pretended to be suddenly enlightened and looked up with a smile. Sister, I think you've got it wrong. That song was clearly written by Weiwei Bai. Aren't I the judge for the second round of good songs? Her songs were handed to the program team in advance and I just happened to see them. He paused for a moment and his smile disappeared as if he had finally reacted. I thought that her songs were very good, so I wrote them down from memory. I think that her songs are very beautiful and can even inspire me. These words directly elevated Weiwei Bai's status. Even Oh Jinma admitted that the songs could inspire him. It was enough for Weiwei Bai's fans to brag about it. But Oh Jinma didn't seem to know the effect of this sentence. He finally looked at Jiang Ro on the stage. His expression changed from puzzlement to surprise. You actually took the song I put at home without my permission and published it as your new song. How could you? Oh Jinma paused and frowned. Then his expression became sad. Don't you hate people who plagiarize and steal? How could he do such a thing? Oh Jinma was still on Weibo just now. Of course, he knew about Jiang Ro's new song. When he heard the prelude, he was about to explode with anger. Isn't this Weiwei Bai's song? Then, he thought about it and realized that she might have taken the song that he had written down from memory the last time she entered his house. He was so used to being casual that he didn't notice her little movements. If Weiwei Bai had not sung this song first, would she have to bear the bad name of plagiarism again? Oh Jinma suppressed the sneer on his face. He wanted to change the song at the last minute, but he did not agree. Would the host offend him for Jiang Ro? Jiang Ro's face was pale. She almost couldn't hold the microphone and her whole body was trembling. She saw that everyone below the stage was looking at her coldly. She couldn't help but tremble as she looked at Oh Jinma. But she realized that her brother, who she thought was naive and sweet, was standing below the stage. His cold thin lips were slightly curved as he gave her a mocking smile. That smile disappeared in a flash. Only she saw it. Jiang Ro widened her eyes in disbelief. Her heart instantly fell into an ice cellar. On the other hand, there was a temporary silence on the internet. The netizens who had regained their senses completely collapsed. They flooded Jiang Ro's Weibo like a tidal wave. Damn, what did I just hear? Jiang Ro, you actually plagiarized. Chapter 1179. Aw, I can't believe it. I've been your fan for so many years, but now you're turning against me. Get lost. You're disgusting. But Oh Jinma's Weibo was full of comforting comments. I didn't expect Jiang Ro to steal your song and put her name on it. Mo, don't be sad. The one above, she stole Weiwei Bai's song, but Jiang Ro misunderstood that it was Mo's song. I didn't expect Mo to be so righteous. If it's not her song, she won't be biased even if it's her sister. In that case, Weiwei Bai is also considered talented. Mo acknowledges her. Last time, she said that Jiang Ro stole her song. Is there any evidence? I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel that Jiang Ro's red song is very similar to Weiwei Bai's song this time. But the completion of the confession is much better than that of love. Could it be that the previous song was also stolen by Jiang Ro? Slowly, under the guidance of some internet trolls, the topic started to turn to suppressing Jiang Ro, praising Weiwei Bai's direction of public opinion. And the internet trolls behind the scenes were a little curious. Why is Brother Mo suppressing his sister and supporting Weiwei Bai? The leader of the internet trolls said, "Shut up. Take your money and do more. Don't compare." The internet trolls, they let the public opinion on the internet explode. After singing the song, Weiwei Bai didn't care. She ran to hug her cat and then left the TV station with her guitar. At the end of the first round of the live broadcast, her back view was seen calmly leaving. Under the setting sun, it was indescribably cool and calm. The camera zoomed out and she gradually disappeared. Passerby fans, loyal fans. With just this back view, Weiwei Bai made the small group of passerby fans bigger and bigger, and then directly jumped to loyal fans. Her Weibo fans also increased rapidly. With public opinion, traffic was king. She started to become popular in just the first round of the program, Good Songs. He was slowly being washed clean. Many people who had a bad impression of her started to like her. All of this was due to Weiwei Bai's strength and Jiang Ro's courting death. More importantly, it was Oh Jinma's internet water army that was manipulating the situation. He was a superstar in the entertainment industry and a major shareholder of Enchanting. Oh Jinma was very familiar with this set of moves. When Oh Jinma saw that the public opinion was starting to turn for the better, he called Enchanting Corporation and called for a meeting. The content of the meeting was to sign a contract with Weiwei Bai and give all of Jiang Ro's resources to her. As for Jiang Ro, her contract was terminated, her reputation was tarnished, her resources were cut off, and the last step was to kick her out of the entertainment industry. The higher-ups of Enchanting who were in the meeting felt a chill in their hearts. The way they looked at Oh Jinma started to change. Even though Oh Jinma had used thunderous means to acquire Enchanting's shares, he wanted to make Enchanting his master. But most people still had a good impression of Oh Jinma. They felt that he had a good personality. Apart from the shares, Oh Jinma was very gentle and didn't seem to care about anything. He was very compatible with his angelic image. After a long time, everyone felt that his personality was still very good. But this series of suppression and tarnishing of Jiang Ro was simply like a demon. Although these were all conventional methods in the entertainment industry, when Oh Jinma did it, it seemed especially ruthless. Oh Jinma only heaved a sigh of relief after doing all of this. He stared at his phone and wanted to call Wei Wei back several times. But he didn't know what reason to use. He had done so much to settle the public opinion for her and started to reopen the case of her song being stolen by Jiang Ro. He also wanted to take revenge on Jiang Ro. Everything was carried out according to his plan in an orderly manner. Chapter 1180. He even had a draft for Wei Wei Bai to become a superstar. But Wei Wei Bai didn't know about this. Oh Jinma scratched his head in frustration. He had a pitiful expression on his face. This was the first time he had done so much for a woman. But she didn't know. He wasn't a real angel. He still cared about his own gains and losses. Oh Jinma mustered up his courage and started to key in the numbers. He knew her phone number. He only knew it because he had become her cat. After dialing the number, he held the phone tightly. His palms were sweaty. His heart started to beat faster and his fingers started to tremble uncontrollably. What should he say later? He should be high and mighty and let her know that everything she had now was given to her by him. Then, he should tell her in a condescending manner that he wanted to sign her. He would make her famous. She would definitely be happy. She might even start to worship him and become his fan. Oh Jinma couldn't help but smile when he thought of this. The call went through. A faint voice came from the other end of the line. Hello, is this takeout? Was it takeout? Was it takeout? Oh Jinma's good-looking lips twitched and he pursed his lips. Did she forget his phone number? Didn't she spend a lot of effort to get his number when she was still a fan? It had only been a few days and he had become a takeout. Maybe it was because Oh Jinma didn't say anything. Wei Wei Bai's voice sounded apologetic. I'm sorry, I didn't order takeout. You must have the wrong number. After that, she seemed to want to hang up. Oh Jinma was hot-headed. Wei Wei Bai, it's me. Wei Wei Bai was silent for a while. May I know who you are? Who you are? Who you are? Damn you, it's only been a few minutes. She had even forgotten his voice. Oh Jinma's fingers started to tremble. It wasn't because he was nervous, but because he was so angry. His eyes hardened as he tugged at his turtleneck and unbuttoned a few buttons on his white shirt. Then he leaned against the wall and gritted his teeth. Who do you think I am? Ah. This questioning tone was like that of a man who had been cuckolded. And it was the kind that was particularly irritable. There was a 3-second pause. Wei Wei Bai's voice instantly turned cold. Oh Jinma. How do you know my phone number? He was cold, but she was colder than him. He demanded, and she demanded back even more angrily than he. Oh Jinma furrowed his brows and pursed his lips into a tight line. There was a frightening gloom in his light-colored eyes. He sneered. Why? Is your phone number so special that it's unique in the universe? Why can't I know it? After a moment of silence, Wei Wei Bai said indifferently. Yes, it's really unique. Who had more than one phone number? How do you make a call if you don't have one copy? Oh Jinma, he was rendered speechless by her words. Wei Wei Bai said coldly, if you have something to say, say it. If not, I'm hanging up. Oh Jinma felt a lump of anger in his chest that made him feel extremely uncomfortable. He leaned against the wall with one hand in his pocket. Strands of hair fell under his eyes, making him feel a little uncomfortable. Oh Jinma hated her cold attitude. It was as if she didn't care about anything he did. He thought that she would be happy just now, but she ruthlessly shattered his thoughts. Oh Jinma's beautiful eyes were filled with anger and embarrassment. Sancheng wants to sign you. Are you happy? He really tossed the best gift to Bai Weiwei like a brick. Chapter 1181. Sanqing was doing very well and all the artists in the company were popular. Even Jiang Ro would be doing very well if he didn't suppress her. Sanqing would rather not have anything than to have something substandard. They didn't sign any newcomers this year. Everyone knew that once Sanqing signed a newcomer, it would be very popular. They were all supporting them in the direction of becoming popular, so they definitely did not lack resources. Once Sanqing took a liking to them, they would soar to the sky. Weiwei Bai didn't say anything on the other end of the phone. Jinma thought that she was happy and couldn't help but mock her. Why don't you ask why Sanqing likes you? Hurry up and ask. I'll tell you if you ask. Who is so influential and capable? Weiwei Bai said calmly, I'm not signing with Sanqing. Bye. After that, she hung up. There was no sound on the other end of the phone. A cold wind blew and a few pieces of paper rolled past Jinma's feet. Jinma stood with his head down and his expression was still stiff. He held the phone a little further away in disbelief and looked at it. Then, he put it to his ear again. There was still no sound. She was really hung up, rejected, and abandoned. Sanqing wanted to sign her. Sanqing, the biggest, best, and strongest company. She didn't want it. Jinma stared at the phone for a long time and suddenly smashed it. Smashing it wasn't enough. He even stepped on it. Then, he said coldly, Weiwei Bai, you'll regret it. You don't want the resources I gave you. Are you planning to sleep with a sugar daddy? In this era, there were no resources to support. Geniuses couldn't be popular in the entertainment industry. Popularity and traffic were enough to push any genius down. She didn't want him. How could she become popular? How could she promote her own songs? Rely on the netizens. Don't joke. Without a good company, she wouldn't even be able to sell a decent album. Jinma turned around decisively. His exquisite and handsome face was filled with cold anger. After taking 2 steps, he silently walked back. He picked up the phone again and took out the SIM card. Weiwei Bai must have remembered this phone number. He stuffed the card into his pocket and smashed the phone again. Then, he turned around and left. He had decided to forbid all the companies from signing her. He would let her hit a wall and bleed profusely. When the time came, she would come and beg him. Then he asked her to imitate a cat's meow for him. When Jinma drove to the front of the house, a figure rushed out. He slammed on the brakes and looked up. He saw that it was Jiang Ro, who was looking at him with tears in her eyes. Jinma looked at her indifferently, then he reached out and touched the back of his neck. The pain of being stabbed into his flesh by Jiang Ro was still there. He smiled coldly and suddenly stepped on the accelerator. The car suddenly moved forward. Jiang Ro looked at him in horror and quickly jumped to the side. The car drove past, splashing mud all over her body. Jiang Ro trembled all over as she watched the car enter the garage. She could not believe that the cold and handsome man sitting in the car just now was. It was her gentle brother. Jinma got out of the car and opened the door as if nothing had happened. Jiang Ro had already chased after him. She cried pitifully and grabbed his arm. Brother, are you angry with me? Jinma paused and looked at her hand. Let go. Jiang Ro said, No, I won't. Brother, what's wrong with you? I'm your sister. How can you treat me like this? Jinma did not say anything but looked up at her. His amber eyes were especially cold and sharp when he looked at her. Chapter 1182. Jiang Ro's hands trembled and she let go of his hand. Oh Jinma entered the house and Jiang Ro followed him carefully. He frowned and looked at her. I don't want to see you these days. You can leave now. If it weren't for the fact that they were blood-related, he would have kicked her out. Jiang Ro smiled pitifully. Brother, what's wrong with you? Oh Jinma laughed coldly. Why? Have you forgotten what happened to Enchanting back then? You rejected me. I think you should be the one who rejected them. Jiang Ro froze and her face turned even paler. Now that he knew about what she had done back then, her image as a good sister would be destroyed. Oh Jinma hated her even more for being so cruel and merciless to kill him when he was still a cat. But he never intended to tell her this secret. Oh Jinma's face was expressionless. His eyes were cold and indifferent. Don't call me brother in the future. Leave this place in half a minute. Otherwise, I'll ask the security to chase you away. With that, he turned around and walked upstairs impatiently. He was covered in dust. He wanted to shower and change his clothes. Jiang Ro stared blankly at his back view as he left. Oh Jinma was serious. She knew that it was over. Why couldn't he accept that she had lied to him? Without Oh Jinma's support, she was done for. Jiang Ro trembled as she knelt down. She thought about her lost future and those frozen cards. And Oh Jinma's seduction towards her. Her gaze turned vicious. She took out a bag of medicinal powder from her pocket. She had planned to use this medicinal powder on Wei Wei Bai. It was a drug that could cause estrus. It was stronger than traditional aphrodisiacs. She didn't expect that it would be used on Oh Jinma. She had planned to feed some to Wei Wei Bai and then push a few models to ruin her reputation and make her leave the entertainment industry. In the end, she didn't manage to carry out her plan in time. She was finished. Jiang Ro knew Oh Jinma's habit. He liked to drink water. Furthermore, it was not boiled water, but a very expensive brand of mineral water. She opened the fridge and saw that there was only one bottle of mineral water left. Today was Saturday. Only on Sundays would the assistant send in new mineral water by air. Once a week, it was fixed. On the other hand, Oh Jinma drank more water and would usually finish all the mineral water the day before. She looked at the bottle of mineral water coldly, then took it out and opened it. She poured the powder into it. As long as he took a sip, he would also lose his mind. If she couldn't be his sister, just be his woman. If it wasn't for the fact that she was his younger sister, she would have done everything she could to get him. She was not his sister. Back then, her father cheated on her and had Oh Jinma. For the sake of his reputation, Oh Jinma's father didn't want him and even chased away the mistress. But because Jiang La was angry, she also cheated. And then there was her. Even her mother did not know who her biological father was. This matter was successfully hidden from Oh Jinma's father. This secret was only known by her and her mother. Oh Jinma didn't know either. He had always treated her as his biological sister and treated her very well. She couldn't bear to reveal this fact. Even if she had feelings for him, she could only endure it. Jiang Ro stuffed the bottle of mineral water into the fridge and closed the door. Then, she revealed a sinister smile. When you find out that the person you are hugging is your own sister, you won't be able to get rid of me. She knew that he wasn't her biological brother. But Oh Jinma didn't know. She wanted him to take the initiative to hug her. Then, he would blame himself for violating ethics and could only continue to treat her gently out of guilt. Jiang Ro went out to relax Oh Jinma's heart. She looked at the door with a cold smile and waited silently. After Oh Jinma finished showering, he casually walked downstairs in a pair of casual pants and a simple round-neck t-shirt. Jiang Ro left. He didn't care. He opened the fridge and took a sip of mineral water out of habit. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. Why was the bottle of mineral water so easy to open? Oh Jinmo frowned and looked at the bottle. It seemed that someone had opened it. Jiang Ro waited for about half an hour before the door suddenly opened. She immediately ran over happily and wanted to hug Oh Jinmo. But just as she approached, a foot kicked her in the chest. She was kicked out. Oh Jinmo didn't even look at her. He quickly got into the car and drove away. Chapter 1183. He closed his eyes and opened them. He saw Wei Weibai struggling to put her hands on his body and prop herself up. She seemed to have touched his upper body and blushed. Then, she bit her lip and got up from his body. Oh Jinmo stared at her disheveled appearance with the cat's eyes. His saliva was about to flow out. He reached out his paw and touched his mouth silently. He felt a few strands of whiskers. Wei Weibai stood up with difficulty. She hurriedly tidied her clothes. Then, she gave him a hard kick. Bastard, pervert, hooligan, rapist. I'm going to call the police to arrest you. With that said, Wei Weibai picked up the phone that he had dropped. Just as she was about to make the call, she felt a grip on her feet. Then, she heard a soft meow. She looked down and realized that it was Oh Jinmo looking at her with teary eyes. He hugged her ankles with his two front paws and rubbed his face against her trousers. Meow, don't call the police to arrest me. I'm very obedient. Wei Weibai. After turning into a cat, you don't even have a human's dignity. It's against the rules to act cute. Oh Jinmo saw that her body stiffened and immediately rubbed his body against hers. However, he rubbed against the bandage and grimaced in pain. Wei Weibai saw him like this and immediately bent down to carry him. Her soft skin and familiar scent made him a little unable to take it. Although a cat couldn't do anything, he decisively nestled in her arms and revealed a satisfied expression. But after a few seconds, Wei Weibai put him in the cat bed and stroked his head. Little Shu, be good. After I call the police, we'll leave this city. She looked down slightly with a tinge of sadness in her eyes. I don't even dare to hope for anything anymore. How can he still bully me like this? Oh Jinmo's body stiffened and he looked at her helplessly. Meow, no, he wasn't bullying her. He was just too upset and his mind was filled with her, which was why he had risked his life to come here. He immediately reached out his paw, wanting to tell her this, but she couldn't understand the cat's voice. When Oh Jinmo was anxious and angry. Looking at the paper on the ground, he suddenly had a terrible idea. He could actually use his claws to write. Wait, what should he write? Was it written that he was Oh Jinmo? He acted cute with his cat legs, shamelessly rubbed against her chest, and even saw her naked body. Once she found out that he was Oh Jinmo. Even if he was beaten to death, it would not be enough to vent his anger. Oh Jinmo retracted his hands silently. He must not let her know who he was. Right now, in her eyes, he was an attempted rapist. If she knew that he was a cat demon, she would have known that he was a cat demon. Then, he would be a wretched and shameless voyeur, and a terrifying cat demon. Wei Weibai wouldn't ask a Taoist priest to take him away, right? Oh Jinmo slapped his face with his paws in frustration. His paws were too small, and his face was too big. No matter how much he slapped, it was inappropriate. He sighed. He was indeed a hooligan today. He couldn't blame Wei Weibai for wanting to run away. His current power was indeed a little too much for her. Which woman wouldn't be afraid of someone molesting her for no reason? Even he would be afraid of that. Oh Jinmo regained his senses, and his heart of shame surged up. He stole a glance at her in embarrassment. He realized that she was already dialing a number on her phone. If she really called the police, he reckoned that before he could do anything, Wei Wei Bai would be crushed by public opinion. Jinma knew a little about his fans. Just as he was about to reach out his paws to slap her phone away, suddenly, a groan of discomfort sounded. Address of the full article, https://www.sashu.com. Download of the full article, https://www.sashu.com. Address of the mobile article, https://m.sashu.com//. Chapter 1184. Do you have any objections? What objections can there be? It's all up to you. No matter how intense the discussions were in the higher management of Enchanting, the final decision was up to Jinma. As the biggest shareholder and the biggest cash cow of the company, it was no different to say that he was the king of the company. He really wanted to do something. Enchanting could not find anyone to stop him. Ever since Jinma suppressed Jiang Rou, many of the higher management came to their senses. Although Jinma had an angel persona, but persona was not a part of his nature. Don't look at how soft and pure Jinma has been all these years. He was also the most popular celebrity in the country for doing charity. But could this represent Jinma's nature? In the past, Jinma did not care about anything, so he gave the impression that his character was not bad. Now, no one dared to provoke him. A man who was so ruthless to his own sister. His persona was completely destroyed. After Jinma notified the company, he hesitated for a while and made another call. He asked the company to send someone to buy songs from Wei Wei Bai. He could not let her starve. Her money went to him, the one who raised the cat. If she did not have an income, she might really have to leave the city. After buying the songs, Jinma felt a little guilty. Was he secretly raising her? When this thought came to Jinma, he could not help but tremble. He even felt that he was a little crazy. Could it be that this was his first time liking a girl? That was why he could not suppress his feelings. Jinma had no experience. His mind was in a mess, but he knew that he treated Wei Wei Bai differently. He drove back and planned to go to the meeting after taking a shower and eating. The reporter who took the photos secretly had probably submitted the photos. He needed to have a clear attitude after the photos were out. He had to prepare the public relations and all kinds of fake reviewers. Jinma drove the car into the garage. Just as he walked out of the garage, a woman squatting in front of his door made him frown. He walked over with an expressionless face. Jiang Rou immediately rushed over. She had been squatting outside for an entire night, and her entire body was in an extremely sorry state. His clothes were from last night, and there was a large bruise on his chest, throbbing with pain. She knew that she should go to the hospital, but she remembered that Jinma had disappeared after taking the medicine. She was burning with anxiety. "Brother, which woman did you go to last night?" she demanded angrily. "That drug will make him lose his mind if he goes out and finds another woman. He must have just gotten out of bed." The thought of him hanging out with a woman made the wound in her chest hurt even more. Jinma was still thinking about the content of the meeting. When he heard Jiang Rou's words, he finally reacted. He stopped in his tracks. His eyes turned cold as he glanced at her. "Which woman?" His indifferent tone was strangely cold. "You drugged the mineral water." That was out of my expectations. Even if he wanted to prank him, it should be laxatives or something else that would make him feel uncomfortable. How could it be an aphrodisiac? If it was another woman, he would suspect that it was a clumsy method to get him. But Jiang Rou was his sister. A suspicious thought quickly swept through his mind, but he did not think much about it. He only looked at Jiang Ro's guilty face. He lowered his voice, and the coldness in his eyes was finally mixed with anger. It seems that I haven't taught you enough lessons. Not only will your card be frozen, but your contract is also in the company. I will put you directly into the cold storage period. You don't have to work in the entertainment industry anymore. Your monthly living expenses will be 2,000, your and your mother's living expenses. Chapter 1185. 2,000. What could two people do with $2,000 a month? She would spend more than half of it on a meal. Brother, I'm your sister. Jiang Ro didn't expect Oh Jinma to be so ruthless. But Oh Jinma was even more ruthless. He tugged at his sleeves impatiently. Oh yes, you should move out of the house too. I'll get someone to take it over. Go out and rent a house. Rent a house. $2,000 wasn't just for living expenses, but also for rent. How was that possible? Was he trying to dismiss a beggar? Oh Jinma's voice was extremely cold. I've been kind enough to you. Don't think it's too little. Don't you have hands and feet? You have to support yourself. How long have you been an adult? What a vicious sister. He wasn't really a saint. Even his water could be drugged. Would it be arsenic next time? He didn't take revenge on her because they were siblings. Oh Jinma couldn't be bothered to look at Jiang Ro. He casually opened the door. Jiang Ro said in a trembling voice, Brother. Oh Jinma suddenly thought of something and laughed sarcastically. Actually, you can also sell songs. Don't you have the talent to write songs? He emphasized the word write songs coldly. Jiang Ro instinctively realized something. She forced a smile and said, Brother, are you misunderstanding something? Oh Jinma tilted his head. His amber eyes were indifferent and calm. It was as if he didn't have Jiang Ro in his eyes. Then his thin lips curved into a mocking smile. It's a misunderstanding. It's fine as long as you know it. After all, if you can steal a song once, you can steal it twice. Don't you think so? Confession was stolen. Of course, Qing Lian was stolen too. It was a pity that Wei Wei Bai, the original author of Confession, sang it first. And Jiang Ro didn't have time to release it. That was why Wei Wei Bai didn't have to be involved in plagiarism again. Oh Jinma's expression turned even colder as he thought of this. Qing Lian's original manuscripts should have been destroyed. It was not easy to get Jiang Ro to admit that she stole the song. Even if everyone doubted her, she insisted that it was her original work. He still couldn't do anything to her. Oh Jinma thought for a while, then pursed his lips and sneered. There was always a way to get the truth out. He walked in and slammed the door shut without hesitation. He shut out Jiang Ro's face, which did not resemble him at all, and which was becoming more and more of an eyesore. He thought of Wei Wei Bai. She raised herself and even ate instant noodles. She didn't mistreat a stray cat. The difference in character between people was too great. He had been too soft on Jiang Ro. But after his parents died, this eyesore of a younger sister was the only one related to him by blood. Oh Jinma suppressed his anger and decided to tolerate Jiang Ro one more time. If she did something that crossed his bottom line again, he would kick her out of his world completely. The second round of good songs would be broadcasted next week. Jiang Ro's plagiarism incident was still hot on the internet. The director of Good Songs had tasted the sweetness of high ratings. It was decided that the second round would be broadcasted again. The original songs in by Wei Wei's hands could be released several albums. This morning, there were staff members who came to buy songs. The price was very good. Wei Wei Bai happily sold 2 songs. She had enough for living expenses. Oh Jinma also received the songs he bought. He touched the music score and couldn't wait to play it. She was very good at writing fresh and beautiful sweet songs. These two songs were the same. They were both high-quality sweet songs. She was simply a treasure. How could such a talented piece be written in such a short time? The download address is at https://www.sashu.com. Chapter 1186. Oh Jinma knew that she had only written it recently. Because he was her cat. He had a rough idea of how many songs she had written. Oh Jinma sang the songs softly and realized that his voice sounded pretty good when he sang this song. His voice was ethereal and high-pitched. There was no pressure at all when he sang the high notes. Also, his voice was so clear that it was almost cold. Hence, most of his songs were fantasy-themed. They were filled with all kinds of intoxicating and dazzling skills. In addition, he had super high stage performance. This made his style especially cool. But when he calmed down and sang a peaceful song, it was very holy. This was also the origin of his angelic persona. People would rather believe that his cold and changeable performance on stage was just for stage effects. They would rather believe that his quiet holiness was his true nature. Oh Jinma took Wei Wei Bai's song. This was not his style. It was the complete opposite of his style. Hence, he bought her song and needed to promote her song. He could not suppress the song and not sing it. But who was suitable to sing it? No one was suitable. When he thought of Wei Wei Bai's song for others to sing, he felt as if he had lice all over his body. He could not sit still and felt uncomfortable. But if she did not sing for others, her song would not be promoted. Wasn't this a trap for her? During the meeting, Oh Jinma was also in a daze. He was thinking hard about who was suitable for this song. Suddenly, the assistant beside him said, "Brother Mo, the meeting is almost over." Oh Jinma looked up blankly and nodded before saying, "I suddenly feel like singing a love song." You don't have any objections, right? All the executives, who did not know Oh Jinma's style. Love songs were not his style at all. Angels did not only have to be in love. They also had to sing love songs. It sounded like a logical thing to do. Oh Jinma saw that no one had any objections and nodded satisfactorily. No objections, that's it. I only need 2 songs for my album. Both of them are love songs. One of the executives finally asked with difficulty, "You know how to write love songs?" It wasn't that they were suspicious. It was just that out of all the songs written by Oh Jinma, only a few of them had elements of love songs. He said that it was an element. It was because none of those love songs were normal. The Grim Reaper and the Graveyard could become the main subject of his love song. When others asked, he would still say that love was buried in the grave. Wasn't it romantic? The Grim Reaper cutting off the head of the betrothed was even more romantic. Fall your head off, it's more like frightening someone to death, alright. Therefore, his love songs were really unlistenable. Oh Jinma crossed his arms and rested them under his chin. He revealed a gentle smile. No, it was written by someone else. The higher-ups, Oh Jinma had never used a song written by someone else. All of them were produced by himself, composed by himself, and even arranged by himself. He was that awesome. After so many years in the industry, this was the first time she heard him wanting to use someone else's song. His genius persona collapsed again. So this meeting was held to ruin his image. Who didn't know how valuable Oh Jinma's image was? The higher-ups looked at each other, but they didn't dare to say it out loud. They could only pray that the two songs were of good quality. Another executive asked carefully, "What's the style of the love song? Is it cool?" Oh Jean-Ma's gaze softened. "It's very gentle, and the lyrics are not bad. You're my only sparrow, and I'm your cute cherry." The higher-ups, why did he start singing while talking? And this love song was too girly and childish. The. Chapter 1187. After the meeting, the public opinion on the internet exploded once again. The netizens expressed that they had too much gossip and were about to vomit. Oh Jean-Ma spent the night with a woman and left in the morning with messy clothes. This was an exclusive news, and the title was very reasonable. After all, as long as Oh Jean-Ma appeared, it would become a hot news story. There was no need to create any trouble at all. Oh Jean-Ma's angel group would definitely come in and scold this kind of news. But this time, it was a picture. It made people speechless because the man in the picture was wearing a simple t-shirt and trousers, casually standing at the entrance of the road. He calmly turned to look at the camera. His eyes were cold and had a trace of lazy gloominess. There was no trace of a smile in his beautiful amber eyes. His short hair was messy and unkempt, and his clothes were wrinkled. His body was slender and his posture was casual. Sexy, so sexy that people felt like they could drown in his eyes. If it was just this picture, it would be fine. But the next picture was of Oh Jean-Ma coming out of the building. There was also a picture of him driving into the building at night. What was even more irrefutable was the next picture. It was a girl with her back to the camera, carrying a cat as she walked towards the soy milk shop. Oh Jean-Ma followed behind her in his car. The car window was half opened, revealing his impeccable side profile. His expression was gentle, and his gaze was gentle. It was as if the girl in front of him was the one he cared about. There was no need to think about the series of pictures. It was all a drama. Oh Jean-Ma was involved in a scandal for the first time. And it was an undeniable scandal. The angel group was in an uproar. "I don't believe it. It must be because of the angle of the picture. My MOMO is not so sexy." Oh Jean-Ma had always given them the impression that he was a pure boy. He was talented, ignorant, and pure. Even angels were not as pure as him. I have goosebumps. In the picture of him standing by the roadside, he didn't even put on his t-shirt properly. His shoulders are exposed, and I can see his muscles. You're going off topic. What's going on between him and that woman? Let's talk after you lick the screen. Bootlicker +1. MOMO seems to be in love. The fans who were licking their screens were all stunned. Only then did he realize that this photo seemed to be, probably, dating. The fans were shocked, at a loss, and even refused to believe it. After all, in this day and age, there were so many real and fake news. Even if one saw a sex scene, it might not be true. These innocent photos might not be real. There was a group leader in the fan club who was in charge of controlling the fans. He immediately restrained the agitated fans. Then, everyone gathered under Oh Jean-Ma's Weibo. They all asked, "MOMO, someone posted a photo of you and said that you spent the night with a woman?" They thought that Oh Jean-Ma would not answer. After all, he was so busy. But soon, an answer appeared under the question. "We spent the night together, but it was just a chat, nothing else." The fans were excited. Oh Jean-Ma had actually answered personally. Hearing his denial, they were relieved. "Are you going to talk about official business? Why are you talking about spending the night together?" Under the question, there were a bunch of comments asking him not to work too hard. "Oh Jean-Ma, I wanted to do something to her at first, but she was too innocent and didn't let me touch her." The fans. "Huh? Wait a minute, what did you say? The fans trembled and asked, you're really in love? Oh Jinmo, yes. A calm and indifferent yes. Oh Jinmo, she's the first girl I've ever had feelings for. I like her. Quick, ruthless, and accurate. After saying that he was in love, he directly announced it. A sharp-eyed fan tried to ask, that girl isn't by Weiwei, right? After all, the photo was too clear. Even if it was a back view, it was too easy to recognize her. This time, Oh Jinma did not answer. But he posted on Weibo. Weiwei bye, I like you. Will you accept me? This Weibo post was much more shocking than any news. The fans were dizzy and felt that the world was falling apart. Some of the impulsive fans even cursed at Weiwei Bai for stealing Oh Jinmo. A large number of fans rushed to Weiwei Bai's Weibo and rolled up their sleeves to scold Weiwei Bai for being shameless for seducing Oh Jinmo. Weiwei Bai's latest Weibo post was clearly at the top. Oh Jinmo, I don't like you. Get lost. Fan. Crossover system, Adonis, come here, /crossover system, Adonis, come here and read the full article at https://www.sashu.com. Download Transmigration system, Adonis, come here, save button, crossover system, Adonis, come here. Chapter 1188. What should we do when our idol announces his relationship on the internet? What should we do when our idol announces his love on the internet? What should we do when our idol announces his love on the internet? It's a fucking unrequited love. Our idol's unrequited love is over. He confessed, but he was rejected. What should we do? Oh Jinmo's fans were brutally ravaged by a piece of news. They were tortured over and over again. They were slapped in the face at their darkest hour. Their faces hurt so much that they didn't even know how to scold others. What should they scold? Should they scold their idol for confessing? Should they scold him for confessing? How could they be rejected? It was too embarrassing. They were simply thrown off the face of the earth. The news was everywhere in the blink of an eye. Even the foreign newspapers specially left the headlines for Oh Jinmo. Little angel Oh Jinmo's heart was stirred. There was finally a woman he liked. Sorry, he was rejected. Oh Jinmo posted on Weibo again. It's fine if you don't accept me, but can you not ask me to leave? The fans had forgotten that Oh Jinmo was in a relationship. Their angel core would crush anyone they saw. Whether it was soft power or hard work, Oh Jinmo could crush the music industry. The album's sales and the awards it received were all top-notch in the international market. As a result, the fans of the Angel group were proud and arrogant at the same time. When they were scolding others, who dared to compete with them? After all, Oh Jinmo was a natural barrier that couldn't be crossed. Hence, the Angel group had never been slapped in the face because Oh Jinmo's existence was a nuclear weapon that slapped others in the face. But now, they were stabbed again, and again, and again. Someone actually asked their little angel to leave. Then, their little angel was actually extremely obsequious. He was just short of printing the word "lick" on his face and begging others not to ask him to leave. The Angel group felt that they were not only slapped in the face. Their hearts were also broken. Even their longtime arrogance was kneeling down. The angry Angel group squeezed into Weiwei Bai's Weibo. Why don't you want my MO? He's the best singer in the world. My MO has been ranked number 1 in Asia for 7 years in a row. His cumulative sales volume is second in the world. His fans are all over the world and he has won countless awards. He will eventually be recorded in the annals of history and will be remembered by a generation, although the sales volume was real. However, his tone was no different from a pyramid scheme. Every time MOMO holds a concert, the tickets are sold out within 10 minutes. Scalpers can only buy tickets that are more than 10 times the price. Men and women of all ages like him. He is the hope of reviving the music industry. A bunch of chatter. There was only one sentence in the end. What right do you have to reject him? What right do you have to ask him to scram? Wei Wei Bai was sorting out the music score when she casually glanced at Weibo. The number of fans increased. The number of comments had also increased. It was now the second most searched topic. She had asked Oh Jinma to get lost on Weibo, and there were hundreds of thousands of comments. The top search was Oh Jinma's confession on Weibo. The number of comments exceeded 1 million in just half a day. What's more, the comments were still increasing. These were not fake reviewers, but real fan comments. The intensity of the fans' comments was jaw-dropping. Most of the comments below her were asking her not to reject Oh Jinma. Wei Wei Bai's lips twitched. She didn't think that if she dated Oh Jinma, his favorability towards her might not increase. But because of the fans, her relationship with Oh Jinma would definitely not be smooth sailing. When the time came, Oh Jinma would not be able to handle the fans' counterattack. He would be frustrated and his favorability towards her might decrease. After all, his angelic persona was because she didn't have it. Anyway, she could still woo him. That was why she decided to reject Oh Jinma so that her future strategy would be smoother. However, this group of fans was simply crazy. Even though she rejected them, they were even more anxious than Oh Jinma. Instead, they were forcing her to accept Oh Jinma's confession. Button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 1189. Indeed, when a celebrity was sick in the head, their fans were also sick in the head. Wei Wei Bai was too lazy to reply to Weibo. She was here for the strategy, not to be a celebrity. She participated in the singing competition because she could not waste the 50 days of life points. If she did not write more songs, she would lose so much that her heart would bleed. There was no mission for her to become the queen of the entertainment industry, so what was she doing? That was why Wei Wei Bai was so calm. Suddenly, she thought of a problem. Her movements paused, and there was even a hint of vigilance in her eyes. Tongzi. The system was classifying its own garbage, and now it had become a garbage collecting system. Hearing the host's gloomy voice, it immediately said, I didn't spend your life points to buy snacks, really. Wei Wei Bai said, well, I just want to ask, why hasn't the side mission appeared this time? She was really afraid of the crazy side mission. She did not hear the notification of the side mission. She felt uneasy. It was better to have the side mission at the beginning than to wait until she was almost done with the strategy and then come out to give her trouble. The system immediately flipped through the notification, no, the side mission will only be triggered under special circumstances. It hasn't been triggered in this world yet, so let's wait first. Wei Wei Bai narrowed her eyes and pondered. Side mission. Could it be that it was thinking of something to mess with her again? Her biggest enemy now was not the strategy target. It was the side mission. If there were villains in her world, those who blocked her path, such as Jiang Ro. In front of the main system's side mission, they were all vulnerable. The system threw a completely useless piece of garbage into the bin, as if it knew Wei Wei Bai's depression. It comforted her, it's okay, it's just a side mission, you can do it. Wei Wei Bai was touched, you're getting gentler, Tongzi. You used to be like a poisonous snake with a mouth full of venom. The system said. I'm being gentle to you, and you're bringing up old scores with me. Wei Wei Bai said, no, I just miss the evil you used to be. The system said, there's no need to reminisce. I'll let you experience my evil side now, Kacha Kacha Kacha. Wei Wei Bai shuddered. You bought potato chips. The system snorted coldly and elegantly. Yes, I bought the super supreme luxury VIP lobster with diamonds, abalone, and bird's nest flavored potato chips. Wei Wei Bai said, it sounds disgusting. Then, it silently hugged its Chungtung potato chips, turned around, squatted in the trash can, and cried. It couldn't even act cool anymore. The host disdained the name that it came up with to show off. Of course, potato chips with only 3 days of HP wouldn't taste good. In the evening, when Wei Wei Bai came out of the shower, she found her big-faced cat sitting on the bed gloomily, staring at her. It was obviously Jinmo. Wei Wei Bai acted as if nothing had happened. She wiped her wet hair with a towel and tugged at the collar of her pajamas. Her fair skin was faintly discernible. Seductive. As expected, Jinmo's eyes narrowed. He stretched his neck forward, wanting to take a few more glances. Wei Wei Bai calmly walked over and put the towel aside. She reached out and carried him up, placing him on her lap. Jinmo could only smell the scent of her shower. It smelled so good that it made his heart beat faster. Wei Wei Bai's expression was gentle. She took out a cat's nail clipper and started to trim Jinmo's nails. She gently bent over, and her long hair brushed past his body. Jinmo felt the cat's back being brushed by the tip of her hair. It made him feel numb and refreshing. He couldn't help but let out a low meow. And read the full article at https://www.sashu.com and read the full article at https://www.sashu.com. Chapter 1190. Then she said to Su Yidwan, if you don't treat it, the wound will heal very slowly. After saying that, she took out a medical cotton swab. She dipped it in medical alcohol and cleaned his wound. Su Yidwan immediately sat upright and let Wei Wei Bai clean his wound. Wei Wei Bai had just put on the okay bandage for him. Suddenly, her head felt heavy. Su Yidwan looked up and saw a big-faced cat that had grown a little meat squatting on Wei Wei Bai's head. The big-faced cat looked at him with a pair of sinister eyes. She could actually see contempt in a cat's eyes. Su Yidwan really wanted to rub her eyes. Wei Wei Bai reached out and touched the cat. She immediately frowned and said, Xiao Shu, stop fooling around. Come down. Jinmo, meow, if you don't want to come down, then so be it. Don't think of hooking up with a man in front of me. Cats had weight too. Wei Wei Bai's neck was about to break. She took a deep breath and reached out to pull Jinmo down. Jinmo used its furry paws to press against her face and its 2 back paws to rub against her neck. Its entire cat belly was on her head. The cat's face rested on her forehead. Then it glared at Su Yidwan with its pair of cat eyes. Coming to hook up with the girl he liked in the middle of the night. What a bastard with bad intentions. Don't even think of taking advantage of Wei Wei Bai. Su Yidwan coughed lightly. He felt that the cat was hostile to him, and even had a murderous aura. Was it an illusion? He took 2 steps forward, wanting to help Wei Wei Bai put the cat down. However, just as he reached out, Jinmo immediately reached out with its paws and slapped him away. This time, it didn't use its sharp claws. It just slapped him away. Because he was going to make this bastard bleed again. Wei Wei Bai was going to put the okay bandage on him again. Sure enough, this cat had a murderous intent towards him. Before Su Yai could think further, Wei Wei Bai had already reached out and touched Jinmo's neck. Then, she lifted him up. Jinmo wanted to struggle, but for some reason, he was being held by the neck. he didn't have any strength at all. He watched helplessly as he left the top of Wei Wei Bai's head. The expression on his face became dejected. Wei Wei Bai placed him on the bed and rubbed his head. "Stop fooling around, little tree." Su Yai watched as Wei Wei Bai comforted the cat. His gaze became even gentler. Then he said, "Are you free tomorrow night?" Wei Wei Bai looked up. "I'm going to participate in a singing competition tomorrow, so I'm free at night." After all, the live stream was only in the morning. Su Yetian said gently, "Then can I treat you to a meal?" Wei Wei Bai laughed. "I should be the one treating you. After all, you saved my cat." Su Yehuan didn't argue and immediately nodded. Then it settled. "You treat." After he finished speaking, he took his jacket and walked out. Wei Wei Bai watched him leave and closed the door. When she turned around, she saw Jinma's cat eyes on fire. He gritted his teeth and looked at her hatefully. The system couldn't bear to look at him. "You're flirting with a man in front of the male lead. Aren't you asking for a beating?" Jinma was about to go crazy. An old virgin like him finally had his first love. His first love was going on a date with a man in the middle of the night. Fuck, he was going to be cuckolded. Wei Wei Bai said, "You don't understand. Sometimes you need to feel nervous, so your target will start to move faster. Nervousness, jealousy, sadness. If these emotions were used well, they could turn the tables around." The system said, "You're a devil." Bai Weiwei got on the bed. She took the cat, whose eyes were burning, and placed it in her arms. Then she closed her eyes and said, "Little tree, go to sleep. There's still a competition tomorrow." Jinma wanted to bite her to death. Going on a date with a wild man in the middle of a competition, did she think he was dead? She slapped him in the face in front of millions of people and rejected him. Now, she was going to meet someone else's eyes again. She still had feelings for him, so how could she go back on her words? Jinma listened to her love songs and felt that every song was written for him. That was why he dared to confess. He felt that she would accept it. When he thought of this, his tears almost fell. Wei Wei Bai fell asleep. Her light breathing made Jinma want to wake her up. But when he thought of the competition tomorrow, he retracted his claws and didn't dare to disturb her. He was left alone in the middle of the night, licking his lonely wound that was emitting a green light. The next day, Wei Wei Bai was ready to go out. She saw a car blocking in front of her house. Jinma was wearing black pants and a black shirt with a long windbreaker and black boots. He looked clean and handsome. He saw Wei Wei Bai walking over. His sunglasses slid down his nose, revealing a pair of cold amber eyes. Then his voice was as cold as ice and snow. "Wei Wei, are you free tonight? I'll treat you to dinner." It was Jinma's first time inviting someone out for a meal, so he was full of murderous intent. He couldn't wait to chew up Wei Wei Bai and eat her up. Wei Wei Bai. Transmigration system, Adonis, come here, /crossover system, Adonis, come here and read the full article at https://www.sashu. Download Transmigration system, Adonis, come here // Chapter 1191. He suddenly confessed and chased after her. If it was a girl with an unstable temperament who was vain, she would have immediately accepted him regardless of the reason behind his change in attitude. However, after she turned against him, she continued to be a hater. Any reaction towards him was a very normal self-protection. He couldn't say that he was her cat. He couldn't say such things even if he was beaten to death. Jinma was so angry that he only wanted to announce their relationship to the world. When he saw her being intimate with the doctor, he became hot-headed and came to bully her. He even brought the reporters along. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed too much. Oh, Jinma saw her red face. She was so angry, but why did he feel that she looked good when she blushed? He tried to salvage his image. Did you see my confession? Wei Wei Bai almost rolled her eyes. Wasn't this nonsense? She looked at him coldly. Your so-called confession made me angry and scolded by thousands of people every day. Do you hate me that much? Oh, Jinma's smile disappeared. He leaned against the car door and lowered his head dejectedly. His stray hair fell under his eyes. His beautiful and slender figure was like a natural clothes hanger, making the luxury car behind him pale in comparison. He pursed his lips lightly, and there was a trace of sadness in his half-closed amber eyes. Pure and clear. A beautiful pool of sunshine in his eyes. I just want to tell you that I feel for you. I want to be with you when I see you. His aggrieved look was indescribably pitiful. He was 185 meters tall, but he gave people a soft and pitiful feeling that he needed to be protected. What was even more strange was that he actually looked very good and didn't make people feel disgusted at all. He frowned, and there was a naive expression on his fair face. His gaze softened. Maybe you're surprised, but feelings come suddenly. I'm sincere, and I don't want to make you sad. He said it with sincerity. He said it helplessly and pitifully. It was simply too good. He was just short of wearing a halo and wings behind him. He was so holy that he wanted to fly. But the favorability didn't increase. Wei Wei Bai was helpless against Oh Jinma's strange increase in affinity. If it was someone with a normal personality, she would just go with the flow and accept it. Then, his favorability towards him slowly increased. However, this would not work for Oh Jinma. Oh Jinma was such a fanatic because of his first love. He only had 50 favorable impression points, yet he had already made it known to everyone. He was even more arrogant than someone with 100 favorable impression points. However, Wei Wei Bai analyzed Oh Jinma's personality. He knew that he was not a reliable person. If he truly loved someone, he would not allow her to be in danger. Hence, Oh Jinma's love of 50 favorable impression points was real. But he loved himself more, and that was true. If he succeeded in his confession now, in that case, it wouldn't be easy to increase his favorability in the future. After all, he might not necessarily cherish what he had obtained. Wei Wei Bai thought about it realistically for a moment and then looked at the cat beside her feet. Distance creates beauty. It was better to continue rejecting him. Hence, Wei Wei Bai's face turned cold and she looked at him expressionlessly. Oh Jinma, your feelings have nothing to do with me. Please let me go. After saying that, she bent down to hug the cat and turned to leave. Oh Jinma suddenly tugged at her clothes. But you used to like me. The more he spoke, the less confident he became. Wei Wei Bai heard him mention the past, yet he still had the cheek to mention the past. She laughed coldly. You also said that was in the past. After I saw your true colors, I stopped being your fan and I won't see you again. / Chapter 1192. Oh Jinma said softly, is it because I'm not an angel that you don't like me? She used to like his angel persona, so he hated her and revealed his true nature. Did she not like him? Thinking of this, Oh Jinma's heart ached. Sure enough, everyone liked this persona and not him. Wei Wei Bai stopped in her tracks. Her body stiffened for a moment before she suddenly turned around and slapped him in the face. Oh Jinma was stunned and didn't even blink. Then he saw Wei Wei Bai gritting her teeth and saying, Angel my ass, what kind of angel are you? We are old neighbors. It's not like I haven't seen you steal chickens and dogs before. Is there an angel who steals sweet potatoes from my kitchen? She exposed his past. Oh, Jinma's old face turned red. Wei Wei Bai sneered. I know you better than you do. I don't care about your persona. I just like you and your music. It was a simple sentence. Oh, Jinma was used to seeing protective words from fans. He was used to hearing flattery. He was even more spoiled by fans, companies, managers, and investors. But they all wanted him to maintain a likable persona so that they would continue to invest in him without any complaints. Even if fans said that they liked his music. However, he knew very well that a lot of fans would fall for this kind of trick. This made him see many fans saying that they liked his music. He still had doubts in his heart. This fan actually only came because of his genius and angelic contrasting personality. In this era of entertainment to death, he didn't dare to believe in anyone. But Wei Wei Bai used such a cold attitude to say that she only liked his music. Oh, Jinma's heart was immediately touched. His heart that didn't trust people was broken. Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 55. She lowered her eyes and softened her voice. Oh, Jinma, I just thought that you would help me because I am your neighbor, but I didn't expect you to give me such a big blow. Every time I see you, I feel embarrassed. Oh, Jinma's eyes reddened. If he was pretending just now. Now he really felt that he was pitiful. Being told that he was embarrassed by a woman was more powerful than any words of rejection. Wei Wei Bai said, so I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. The drama on the internet can also stop. Don't mess up my life. Oh, Jinma clenched his hands in his pockets. The pitiful look on his face suddenly disappeared. Instead, it was a cold interrogation. Wei Wei Bai, you don't believe that I like you. Wei Wei Bai was silent for a while before nodding her head. I don't believe you. With that said, she didn't any longer. Oh, Jinma did not stop her again. However, his eyes were cold as he slumped down softly. He stared blankly as Wei Wei Bai left. His tall and straight body slumped. He leaned against the car. The car and the people were all very lonely. There was a feeling of being abandoned. Oh, Jinma finally understood what it meant to shoot oneself in the foot. If he hadn't been so malicious towards Wei Wei Bai in the beginning, he wouldn't have been disliked to this extent. He quickly got into the car and sped away. Wei Wei Bai had to squeeze into the bus again. At this time, the bus was the most damned crowded. What if she got hurt by the jostling? Meanwhile, the reporters outside Wei Wei Bai's house were already scrambling to publish the headlines. Oh, Jinma's confession is rejected again. Bootlicker gets slapped, / Chapter 1193. This title, the angels on the internet were slapped in the face again. Slap, slap, slap. The angels turned into bootlickers. Damn it, even if you want to change, you should at least inform us. How can you bootlick just like that? The angels immediately howled miserably again. Wei Wei Bai's Weibo fans increased again. Then, her slowly growing fan club started to fight with the angels. The angels, Wei Wei Bai, your character is low and you have no talent at all. Get out of the entertainment industry. Wei Wei Bai fans, your MOMO has been rejected by my Wei Wei. The angels, Wei Wei Bai, your singing is terrible. Wei Wei Bai fans, your MOMO has been rejected by my Wei Wei again. The angels made a big move. Wei Wei Bai, you are not good enough for my MOMO. Wei Wei Bai fans, your MOMO has been rejected by my Wei Wei for being a bootlicker. The angels, damn it, there was no way out. They couldn't even fight anymore. They had no dignity at all. The angels clung to Oh Jinma's Weibo and cried bitterly. Bootlickers don't have a good ending. Wake up. Oh Jinma finally posted on Weibo, collecting proposals on how to confess to the goddess and go on a date. Those who are chosen will get 100,000 yuan in cash. The angel group felt their hearts shatter. But 100,000 yuan, an angel fan couldn't help but come up with an idea. You can continue to bootlick. The goddess will definitely want you. The rest of the angels, so they were not called angels anymore, but bootlickers. Weiwei Bai's second round of live broadcast went smoothly. Oh Jinma sat in the middle of the judges' table. He was definitely in the center position. He was in charge of praising the contestants. After all, his character was an angel. He wanted to solidify his image as an angel, and at the same time, raise his image of guiding the younger generation. The program team and Sanqing Company were happy. But during the live broadcast, everyone felt that something was wrong. The other contestants went on stage. Oh Jinma's expression was cold. He wore a pair of sunglasses and looked indifferent. When the contestant finished singing, hee. Oh Jinma, I've never heard such a terrible song before. You better not create a new song, or else it'll poison our brains. The contestants and the rest of the judges, what happened to the compliment? Where's the promised angel? One of the contestants went up and was scolded by Oh Jinma. What's more, it was very effective. This left the contestant speechless. Finally, it was Weiwei Bai's turn. Everyone was waiting anxiously. After all, Weiwei Bai had rejected Oh Jinma. This superstar might take the opportunity to take revenge. The song that Weiwei Bai chose was a more touching one. It was still fresh and refreshing. It was very pleasant to hear. Oh Jinma took off his glasses and applauded. Best song of the year. You wrote it better than me. You've advanced. The rest of the judges. Could this bootlicking be any more obvious? Also, they were dead people. How could they advance just because you said so? Oh Jinma then remembered that there were people around. He turned and smiled. Do you have any opinions? The judges all praised her. No, the song is really nice. Bai Weiwei was incomparably calm. She bowed and said a word of thanks, neither salty nor weak. Then, she turned around and left the stage. Oh Jinma suddenly said, Contestant number 7, your song has inspired me. Why don't you sing a song with me? Weiwei Bai, I'm not free. After saying that, she walked backstage without even looking at him. Oh Jinma was stunned for a moment. Then, he showed a sad expression. When the next contestant went on stage, he saw Oh Jinma staring at him fiercely. The contestant trembled and forgot about the song. After advancing, she basically had nothing else to do. She went to the appointment. Although it was to provoke Oh Jinma, she still had to abide by the agreement. They agreed to meet at a Japanese restaurant. It was the kind of restaurant with individual tatami rooms. Oh Jinma also received the news. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to break. When Bai Weiwei arrived at the private room, she opened the Japanese-style wooden door and smiled. Dr. Su, I'm here. With that, Weiwei Bai looked over. She saw that Su Yehuan was sitting there. There was also someone sitting at the table. It was Oh Jinma, who was eyeing them covetously. The atmosphere suddenly froze. Oh Jinma sneered. You're here for dinner too. What a coincidence. I just happened to pass by. Let's have a meal together. Weiwei Bai and Su Yehuan. The Chapter 1194. This passing by, this coincidence, Su Yehuan was originally embarrassed, but when she saw Wei Wei Bai, she couldn't help but smile. He immediately stood up and was about to let Wei Wei Bai in. Oh Jinma had already stood up and rushed over to take Wei Wei Bai's bag and jacket. He grabbed her hand and led her over. Su Yehuan had already reached out her hand, but Oh Jinma pushed her to the side. Wei Wei Bai was forced to sit opposite Su Yehuan. Only then did Oh Jinma calmly sit side by side with her. Then Oh Jinma asked the waiter to come in and order the dishes. He did everything very naturally. Su Yehuan and Wei Wei Bai instantly became guests. After the dishes were served, Oh Jinma calmly picked up his chopsticks. Come, eat. The atmosphere was very awkward. Su Yehuan reacted in time and immediately smiled warmly. Then he picked up his chopsticks and picked up a piece of sashimi to put into Wei Wei Bai's bowl. Wei Wei, this restaurant's sashimi is very good. Try it. Oh Jinma was expressionless. His long fingers moved and the chopsticks accurately picked up the sashimi. Then he stuffed it into his mouth and ate. After eating, he casually commented, "Not bad." Su Yehuan was speechless. Wei Wei Bai felt that the atmosphere was very awkward. She picked up her chopsticks and picked up the sashimi herself. "Let me try it." But just as she picked up the sashimi, Oh Jinma's fingers suddenly trembled and his chopsticks fell on the table. His face was pale as he supported himself with both hands. "Don't eat it. It's poisonous." Wei Wei Bai was knocked by his shoulder and the sashimi fell. She turned around and saw him holding his stomach exaggeratedly. His beautiful eyes were filled with pain and the back of his hands were trembling. He looked very uncomfortable. Oh Jinma tilted his face and deliberately chose the prettiest face to face her. Her eyelashes were pressed against her eyes, and the amber color of her pupils was resplendent and beautiful under the light. A thin layer of sweat appeared on his white forehead. His thin lips moved and he murmured softly and pitifully, "Wei Wei, my stomach hurts." Wei Wei Bai finally knew where his angel persona came from. His appearance was against the rules. Even if he was a demon, he didn't speak and just smiled. He was so pure and handsome that it made people's legs go weak. A trace of struggle appeared on Wei Wei Bai's face as she reached out to support him. Oh Jinma's eyes flashed with a hint of success. His other hand was firmly gripping Oh Jinma's wrist. Oh Jinma's mouth twitched. He saw Su Yehuan leaning over the table and placing her fingers on his wrist. He looked worried. "Does your stomach hurt? Let me take your pulse. My family has been Chinese medicine for generations. Although I studied Western medicine and did surgery, I still know some pulse reading techniques. If I can't find anything wrong with you, you can only go to the hospital. I'll examine you personally." His words were flawless. He was compassionate and friendly. In contrast, Oh Jinma felt like he was the one who was throwing a tantrum. He turned to look at Wei Wei Bai. Indeed, her eyes were attracted to Su Yehuan. The sourness in his chest appeared again. Indeed, these two were here for a blind date. Otherwise, why would they book a Japanese private room? Moreover, Wei Wei Bai had a very good impression of Su Yehuan. If he didn't come today, would they have gotten married and had to register their marriage? Oh Jinma's hand twitched and he quickly broke away from Su Yehuan's touch. He even used a tissue to wipe his hand in disdain. "I'm fine. I don't need to go to the hospital." Going to the hospital was this guy's territory. When the time came, he would show his mature and elegant charm. Wei Wei Bai was seduced. Oh Jinma thought sourly. If they had the guts, they should have competed in singing instead of medicine. Chapter 1195. Su Yehuan calmly retracted her hand and took advantage of the fact that Jinma was still in a daze to pick up a piece of tofu for Wei Wei Bai. Since the sashimi is poisonous, eat some tofu. The tofu here is very light. Wei Wei Bai smiled and said, "Thank you, Dr. Su." Su Yehuan said, "It's too distant to call me doctor. Just call me by my name." Jinma snorted coldly and stabbed his chopsticks into a piece of vegetable on the plate. "Eat tofu. Whose tofu do you want to eat?" Su Yehuan said gracefully, "Mr. O, do you drink? I asked someone to serve some sake. If you can't drink, then there's no need for a cup." Jinma sneered, "Drink, why don't you drink?" He wanted to compete with him in drinking. He wouldn't be afraid even if someone gave him a bottle of white wine. Not to mention the soft Qingjiu. Wei Wei Bai was very calm in this kind of situation. Between the two men, Dr. Su was smiling while Jinma was sneering. Then they drank silently. It was as if they could win if they drank the other party. Wei Wei Bai ate silently, wishing that they would both drink. Japanese food was rare, and if two more men ate, she wouldn't be full. They were almost done eating. She slowed down, trying to figure out who would pay the bill. Although she had 2 songs in her account, she didn't know who would pay the bill. But the days were long. She had to live frugally. Suddenly, Jinma thought of something and looked at her. His face was a little red, and his lips were especially alluring because of the wine. "Wei Wei, do you want to drink?" Wei Wei Bai came here to eat and didn't want to flirt with men. Jinma, this guy, couldn't be too flirty. After all, the stickers in this world cost 100 health points. It was too expensive. She couldn't afford it. He could only slowly bait Jinma and slowly boil the frog in warm water, slowly filling up his favorability. Then she wouldn't have to sell herself. Wei Wei Bai was about to refuse. However, the system said, "Here comes the side quest." Wei Wei Bai paused. Then, she heard the automatic notification sound. "Ding, I'm a little cutie. How many little secrets do I have?" "I have many secrets, but I won't tell you, Tui, if you don't want to tell me, so be it. Who cares?" Wei Wei Bai despised the side quest in her heart. "Host, please find out Su Yetai's little secret and complete the random mission." Small mission activated. Please immediately drink the wine in the male lead's hand in front of Su Yetai. You cannot touch the wine cup. Wei Wei Bai. Why was the side quest about finding Su Yehua's little secret? Shouldn't they be looking for Jinma's secret? Wei Wei Bai's mind was full of doubts. But he still reacted in time. "I'll drink." Jinma was a little tipsy. She pursed her lips and gave him a seductive smile. He was holding a wine cup in his hand. There was still wine left in the cup. He didn't think much about it. Just as he was about to put down his wine cup and pour her a cup, a hand gently rested on his wrist. Her fingers were beautiful and fair. The back of her hand was thin and delicate. He could see the green veins. It was such a weak and light hand, but it dragged his hand forward. Then, she lowered her head and drank the remaining wine in his cup. Perhaps the girl didn't know, but when she lowered her head, her exposed neck and thin shoulders formed a particularly beautiful arc. Jinma could hardly look away. Wei Wei Bai finished the wine. Then, she heard the sound of the small mission being completed. Ding, small mission completed. Reward, 1 day of life. Wei Wei Bai, reward. Life. The system said, "It's New Year in the system world, so during the new year, all the side quests have red packets as rewards." // Chapter 1196. Wei Wei Bai asked, How long has it been since the new year? The system replied, not sure. We spent a lot of time in the last year, but not this year. Wei Wei Bai said, you system world are so unreliable. You don't even know when the new year is. The system replied, this proves that we are free and unrestrained. Wei Wei Bai was speechless. Oh Jinma watched as she continued to eat as if nothing had happened after she finished the wine. He watched as she lowered her head to eat. Her red lips moved as she ate. She looked even more delicious than the food. Su Yedwan seemed to be shocked as well. Wei Wei Bai's actions were too natural and too fast. She did not even feel inferior. Instead, she gave off a natural elegance. She was drinking from someone else's glass. Yet, it felt as if it was natural. Su Yedwan could not help but ask, do you want another drink? Wei Wei. Oh Jinma's eyes darkened. Anger surged within him. He laughed coldly, Su Yedwan, what do you mean? Su Yedwan's expression was calm. He smiled, nothing much. I just want to confess to Wei Wei. This sentence was like a bomb. He bluntly broke the oppressive atmosphere. Wei Wei Bai looked up as well. She seemed to be surprised. Actually, she did not feel that Su Yedwan had any feelings for her. That was because she was very sensitive to people's emotional fluctuations. If someone liked her, she would be able to capture that feeling. However, Su Yedwan did not have the emotional fluctuations of liking her. This was also the reason why Bai Weiwei coexisted with him so naturally. Su Yedwan ignored Oh Jinma's murderous gaze. I'm about the right age. I'm healthy and have a warm family. I'm financially independent and can support my wife and children. So, I want to, Oh Jinma said, you want to die. Su Yedwan paused. Her smile finally disappeared. Mr. Oh, I don't think it's appropriate for an outsider to interrupt this topic. The doctor was angry. Oh Jinma raised his eyes. His amber eyes were deep and cold. He chuckled and suddenly reached out to hug Wei Wei Bai tightly. Wei Wei Bai didn't notice and was held in his arms. Oh Jinma stroked her long hair calmly. You may not know this, but I've known this silly girl since she was a child. She's innocent and was abducted by bad guys without my supervision. Are you going to take responsibility? Su Yehuan stared at his hand on Wei Wei Bai and suddenly straightened her face. I can take responsibility. Oh Jinma, even if you want to take responsibility, you're not involved. How much do you have in your bank account? Su Yedan paused and said a number. And it was quite impressive. However, Oh Jinma raised his eyebrows and said calmly, I'm 100 times more than you. Furthermore, I'll earn more than 10,000 times more than you. His and Su Yekwan's positions. It established a different space for the two of them to soar. Su Yedan's expression didn't look too good. I think that money isn't the only thing. There's also character, hobbies, and other factors that can be measured. Oh Jinma smiled. His beautiful face had a hint of innocence when he smiled. His words were sharp. Hobbies? Why would a doctor talk about hobbies with a singer? And character as well. You may know a person's face, but not his heart. Who knows if you're a beast in human clothing? Wei Wei Bai was in pain from Oh Jinma's grip. This was going to start a fight. The system was expressionless as it munched on its potato chips. This side mission is strange. Wei Wei Bai was also expressionless as she was pressed into Oh Jinma's arms. Yeah, Su Yedan is just a passerby I met. How did she end up on the side mission list? And the side mission was very strange too. You'll be able to see it the next time you open the bookshelf. If you like. Chapter 1197. Drinking O Jinma's wine in front of Su Yedo. This was to provoke Su Yedo, not to provoke O Jinma. That was why this was not helpful to Wei Wei Bai's main mission. Her target was not Su Yedo after all. The system racked its brains. Also, little secrets have a wide range of missions. Wei Wei Bai said, "Tell me the truth. Is the main system an old pervert who hasn't had sex for 10,000 years? Those side quests, those sick instructions to torture the targets to death. It was a proper FFF group. They were just short of holding torches to burn the heterosexuals to death." The system said, It's probably still a virgin. I'm sure. Wei Wei Bai was speechless. How explosive. Was this the gossip of the system world? The two men's eyes burned with passion. Their expressions darkened at the same time. Wei Wei Bai felt that she had become a source of trouble. After a moment of silence, she thought of the cat that was sleeping in her rented apartment. The cat would need to eat in an hour. She did not have time to waste here. She pushed O Jinma away, reached for the wine bottle on the table, and opened the lid. Then, she poured it into her mouth. She finished all the wine in the bottle. Wei Wei Bai slammed the bottle on the table, and said coldly, "All right, I've eaten and drunk. I have something to do, so I have to go." She stood up, her face slightly red. She took her coat. "If you two feel like old friends, you can order more wine and continue to chat. I'll go first." The small mission was completed. Plus, with this situation, she might get into trouble. She should leave first. She did not want to play cross-eyed with these two men. Wei Wei Bai walked out, but the wind made her feel dizzy. Oh no, the wine is poisoned. The system could not bear to look. "You're drunk." Wei Wei Bai said, "I'm not drunk. You're talking nonsense. You're wrongly accusing me." The system didn't want to argue with the drunkard host. It was like a loving father. Okay. You're not drunk." "Wei Wei Bai, enough, you lied to me again. If I wasn't drunk, why would I think that the road was curved?" "System, what the hell do you want me to do?" Bai Wei Wei covered her head. The road was crooked, and her walking posture was also crooked. A car suddenly stopped beside her. The door opened, and a hand grabbed her arm and pulled her into the car. Wei Wei Bai was dragged into this. O Jinma shoved her into the passenger seat in a daze. O Jinma's jaw tightened and his gaze was cold and sharp. He saw that her face was as red as a monkey's butt and sneered, "How dare you drink so much when you don't know how to drink? If I wasn't here, no one would have found out that you were dead." Wei Wei Bai looked at him blankly. "You are." O Jinma drove the car. "I'm your friend, temporarily." In the future, he would be her temporary boyfriend. Forever lover. When this thought popped up, O Jinma was surprised. He knew that he liked Wei Wei Bai, but this love actually made him want to be with her forever. When Wei Wei Bai heard him say "friend," her face turned red and she started to think. "Friend?" The system reminded her. "Wake up, he's your target." Wei Wei Bai's mind was in a daze, and the strategy had already become her instinct. Although she couldn't see O Jinma's face clearly, the strategy was related to flirting with men. So she said, "Do you want to date, friend?" O Jinma was confused. "Date for what?" Wei Wei Bai, "Date for a one-night stand." O Jinma. Transmigration system, Adonis, come here, /crossover system, Adonis, come here and read the full article at https://www.sashu. Download Transmigration system, Adonis, come here and read this on your phone, https://m/sashu. Calm button. Chapter 1198. It couldn't be better. This was another kind of happiness that he had never felt before. Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 65. Wei Bai had a splitting headache. She breathed heavily as if she had a terrible nightmare. She was crushed by the crane, back and forth. After the dream of being crushed disappeared, she had a dream of being tied up. She couldn't even turn over. Every time she wanted to struggle, she was tied up against a stove. She struggled to open her eyes and looked at the unfamiliar ceiling. She couldn't help but ask, "Why am I transmigrating again?" The system couldn't bear to look at her. This is the male lead's house. Wei Bai had already noticed that the arm she raised was full of kiss marks. Kiss marks? Wei Bai was silent for a moment before asking, "How many favorability points are there now?" The system, 65. Wei Bai's voice was choked. "Selling my body only gave me so little favorability points." The system, selling your body is not a long-term plan. You need to open your heart to quickly increase favorability points. Isn't this the golden rule? Actually, it was already very good that it increased so much. Wei Bai, why didn't you buy the stickers? The system, last night you guys did it 4 times. Probably. After all, it was just guessing because it was blocked. Wei Bai, then she nodded in resignation. Luckily you didn't buy it, or else I would have to strangle you. For stickers, 400 life points. One plane rewarded 30 days of life points. In other words, 400 days was enough for her to desperately transmigrate through more than 10 planes. Not to mention selling her body, she could actually sell her soul too. The system, it knew too well about the host's unscrupulous and immoral level. It watched the host step by step, from a little cutie who couldn't bear to part with her first kiss to a veteran who could pull out her soul to wait for a good price. The system silently praised itself. Under the host's pollution day and night, it didn't become a veteran. It had not become an old driver. It was still that pure and adorable system. Wei Bai looked for her clothes on the floor and found that they were gone. But there was a set of clothes at the bedside. Did he buy it overnight? Wei Bai picked it up and took a look. She was still too naive. These were Jinma's own clothes. White shirt and long black pants. She wrapped herself in the bedsheet and felt that Jinma's shamelessness had exceeded her expectations. She had no choice but to wear a white shirt with an extra length of sleeve. Not to mention the long pants, they could practically mop the floor. Jinma's legs were proportionately long. He was simply a leg demon himself. Walking out of the room, he heard the sound of sizzling coming from the open kitchen. She looked over curiously. She saw a slender figure standing in the kitchen. He lowered his head and was seriously frying an egg. His slender and fair fingers held the spatula and deftly flipped the egg over. After placing the egg on the plate, Jinma seemed to have sensed someone and turned around. He was slightly stunned when he saw that Wei Bai was wearing his clothes. The white shirt was tucked into the pants, and the pants were too long. She rolled them up, revealing her delicate ankles. She casually tied her hair into a bun, and strands of hair fell below her ears. She was fresh and beautiful like a puddle of clear water. She seemed to be a little lost. She didn't seem to know why she was there. Jinma was nervous, but when he saw the obvious marks on her neck, he couldn't help but swallow. Wei Bai was so delicate that it made people want to pounce on her. Jinma suppressed his beastly nature as a man and revealed a gentle smile. Wei, are you hungry? I made breakfast. To read the ad, https://www.sashu.com/ to read the full article at https://www. Sashu. Comto read the full article at https://www.sashu. Com to read the full article at https://m. Sashu. Com. Chapter 1199. Bai Weiwei heard his somewhat hoarse voice. She didn't know what he was thinking, but blood rushed out of her face. Her lips trembled. I'm going back. She looked like she couldn't keep her cool. Jinma prepared the vegetable salad and poured a glass of milk into his hand. Then he turned a corner from the cooking table, stretched out his long legs, and walked out. Like Weiwei Bai, he was barefooted. Walking in front of her, Jinma narrowed his eyes, and a dark light surged in them. He passed the glass of milk to her. Here, drink some and eat. Weiwei Bai was shrouded by his tall figure and an invisible pressure came over her. She couldn't stand it and took a few steps back. Then she said softly, "It's okay, I'm going back." My cat. Jinma looked at her expressionlessly and casually drank a sip of milk. Before Weiwei Bai could react, he had already clasped her neck with one hand and forced her to look up. He lowered his head and captured her lips. He took a sip of milk and passed it to her in a domineering manner. Weiwei Bai was stunned. Her mouth was filled with the taste of milk and his scent. Jinma let go of her and looked at her sharply. "Drink, I'll feed you." Weiwei Bai seemed to be frightened by him and could only reach out to take the glass. Then she was pulled to the dining table by him. Jinma didn't sleep the entire night. He was too excited to watch Weiwei Bai. He was also afraid that he would turn into a cat. Weiwei Bai's cat was still sleeping in the rented apartment. If he turned into a cat in the middle of the night, wouldn't she be left alone in a strange place? Jinma didn't want her to see him sleeping when she woke up. That would make her misunderstand that he didn't have good stamina. Jinma placed the breakfast in front of Weiwei Bai. He said, "There's only Western breakfast left. If you don't like it, I can order takeout." Weiwei Bai held the glass of milk and had a strange expression. Then she shook her head. "It's okay, this is good enough." Jinma was in a good mood. He pulled out a chair and sat beside her. Then he stuck a piece of vegetable with a fork and passed it to her. "Eat." He was feeding her. Weiwei Bai avoided it and frowned. "It's okay, I'll eat it myself." Jinma's eyes darkened but he calmly stuffed the vegetable into his mouth. Bai Weiwei immediately looked at him warily, as if worried that he would chew and feed her. That image was too disgusting. He couldn't even think about it. Fortunately, Jinma knew that it was disgusting and ate it himself. He didn't do anything terrible. Bai Weiwei didn't say much, and didn't even mention what happened last night. She lowered her head and finished her food quickly. Jinma didn't eat much. He was staring at Weiwei Bai. Seeing that she was done eating, he cleaned up the table. Weiwei Bai saw him put the plate in the sink. She finally stood up and said coldly, "Jinma, where are my clothes?" She definitely wasn't suited to go out in this outfit. Jinma looked extremely calm. He lowered his eyes and looked at the plate in his hand. He washed it seriously. The nanny was supposed to come over to clean up, but he had called in the morning and told her not to come. He wanted to spend some quality time with Weiwei Bai. It was a scary thought. But he was like a little boy who had fallen in love for the first time. Just the thought of one person made his fingers tremble with excitement. Weiwei Bai frowned. She had a bad feeling when he was silent. She suddenly turned around and walked to the door. She reached out to open it. The door was locked with a combination of fingerprint and password. The melancholy in Bai Weiwei's eyes deepened. Before she could turn around, a body was already pressed against her back. A hot chest and a man's scent surrounded her. Wei Wei Bai was shocked. She turned around and saw Jinma looking at her with dark eyes. His amber eyes didn't feel warm at all. Jinma's expression was cold. His gentle face turned cold. You want to run away after raping me? Wei Wei Bai's expression froze for a moment. Jinma reached out and slowly pulled open his collar, revealing the nail marks on his neck and teeth marks on his chest. He laughed coldly. I said I didn't want to, but you forced yourself on me. Now you don't want to admit it. By Wei Wei. At the /crossover system, Adonis, come here and read the full article at https://www.sashu.com. Download Transmigration system, Adonis, come here and read this on your phone, https://m/sashu.com. Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. The Transmigration system, Adonis, come here, comma. Chapter 1200. Jinma lowered his head, his eyes cold. His voice became gentler. Wei Wei Bai, you took my first time and you dare not want me. I'm going to report you for rape and ruin your reputation. Wei Wei Bai, no, what did she want to say? She had never seen someone who could accuse others in such a matter-of-fact manner. Wei Wei Bai wanted to quickly take out her notebook and write it down as material so that she could use it for herself next time. This was no longer a matter of how thick his skin was, but of different dimensions. Jinma looked down and saw that she was in a daze, as if she really couldn't remember what happened last night. He felt even more at ease and made up a story. I struggled very hard, but you were too strong when you were drunk. I desperately begged you to let me go, but you were a beast. A beast that stole my first time. If not for Wei Wei Bai's memory of last night, she would have been fooled by this shameless person. But she thought that if she exposed him, she would lose all the goodwill points she gained from selling her body. She endured it and calmly listened to him describe how she had repeatedly forced herself on him last night. Jinma saw the shocked expression on her face. He knew that she really didn't know. He couldn't help but smile, then his expression turned cold. I've kept my virginity for so many years to save it for my future wife. Now tell me what to do. Wei Wei Bai sulked for a while before gritting her teeth and saying, it was my first time too. System, how can the host say that? These two bastards are lying right in front of each other. Aren't they afraid of being struck by lightning? Jinma thought about how she had cried out in pain last night. His face couldn't help but turn red, and his eyes burned. He controlled the impulse in his body and said expressionlessly, so what? You were the one who initiated it, so I won't compensate for your first time. Wei Wei Bai, then. I'll compensate you. Jinma's face darkened as if he had eaten shit. Was he a male host? She actually wanted to use money to buy him. Jinma looked at her from head to toe and sneered, money? Do you think I can buy my first time with money? Wei Wei Bai seemed to feel that this topic was getting out of hand. Her cheeks were flushed red, and the redness spread across her skin, giving her a delicate and beautiful appearance. Jinma narrowed his eyes. He suddenly lowered his head and reached out to touch her face gently. He took in her bewilderment. She could no longer treat him with such a cold and indifferent attitude. Jinma had no regrets at all. Last night, he had taken advantage of the situation and given away his first time. Because Wei Wei Bai could no longer expressionlessly say that she had nothing to do with him. It didn't matter. He had forcefully created a connection. His voice was low and seductive. I'm not asking you to compensate me. I'm a kind person. I'll forget about you forcing yourself on me. You just need to, just be my girlfriend. Just as he was about to say those words, a voice rang out. The doorbell rang. It was sharp and continuous. It was obvious that it was the person who rang the doorbell. He pressed it firmly. Oh, Jinma's expression became unhappy. He let go of Wei Bai, walked barefooted to the door and opened it. Indeed, he saw Jiang Ro standing outside. Jiang Ro was wearing a beautiful dress. It was obvious that she had put in a lot of effort into dressing up. When she saw Oh Jinmo, she immediately put on a fawning smile. Brother. Oh Jinmo was expressionless. He took out his cell phone from his pocket and started to call the security guard. Download the at https://m, Sashu. Com save button at the bottom to record this chapter. Chapter 1201. Jiang Ro panicked when she saw him like this. She wanted to snatch his phone away. Oh Jin Mo looked at her indifferently and coldly, which made her not dare to move. Jiang Ro's face turned pale as she remembered her motive. I'm not going in, brother. I haven't seen you in a long time. I don't know how you're doing. I heard that you told the nanny not to come. How can that do? You can't even take care of yourself. She smiled gently and continued, I made some chicken soup for you and sent it over early. I'm worried that you won't eat and will hurt your stomach. If it weren't for those filthy things and the magical experience of him turning into a cat, he would have been fine. Jiang Ro's performance was really remarkable. He might have been touched by her thoughtfulness. After all, people were naturally not guarded against their loved ones. Moreover, Jiang Ro deliberately got close to him and he was accidentally fooled. Oh Jinma thought about the past and his gaze turned even colder. His voice was low and emotionless. Oh, you'll be banned no matter what you do. Jiang Ro froze for a moment before she forced a smile. Brother, it's fine if I don't enter the entertainment industry. I entered the industry because of you. If you don't let me in, I'll give up. She played the sympathy card. She wanted to win Oh Jinma's gentleness. Jiang Ro was very familiar with this tactic. Unfortunately, when Oh Jinma saw her face, he thought of the time when he was a cat and was almost drowned by her in the water. The gentler and more considerate she was, the more he felt that this woman was hypocritical. Oh Jinma was extremely calm. Oh, since you're so kind, I'll give you a raise for your living expenses. Jiang Ro thought that her trick of hurting herself had finally won his favor. She immediately said pretentiously, it's okay. Brother, didn't you say that you want me to be self-reliant? I'll listen to you. Oh Jinmo, really? Then I wish you happiness in your self-reliance. I won't give you the rest of your living expenses. After all, you're already self-reliant. You won't be interested in my 2,000 yuan a month, right? Greed was clearly showing in his eyes. His words were so beautiful. She was really a whore, yet she still wanted to build a monument to her chastity. Oh Jinma felt a strong sense of disgust. She regretted that she had been so blind in the past to think that someone like Jiang Ro was actually his younger sister. Perhaps it was genetic. Her mother was not a good person. Their father was not a good person either. Therefore, with Jiang Ro's personality, she didn't seem to be surprised. Even he was not a holy father angel. Don't expect his family to do well. At present, the only one who could make him feel particularly good was Bai Weiwei. She was truly self-reliant and did not want to fall into any mud. In fact, she was no longer moved by him. But so what? With his outstanding acting skills and extraordinary performance, it was impossible for him to win. She was finally with him. Oh Jinma traditionally believed that two people had to be together once they went to bed. He was such a responsible and good man. Jiang Ro's expression changed. Brother, don't tell me you don't care about our sibling relationship at all. Even if I did something wrong, it was because I was young and ignorant. Can't you forgive me? As expected, she turned hostile after taking back 2,000 yuan. Jinma suddenly felt that the woman in the room behind him couldn't be any better. It was all because of the comparison. Ding, the male lead's favorability has increased to 70. Wei Bai was in the room. Jinma stood in front of the door, his body completely blocking the room. Wei Bai and Jiang Ro had never seen each other before. Is at https://www.sashu.com// Chapter 1202. Jinma simply didn't want others to see how sexy Wei Bai looked in his clothes. Alright, whether you're right or wrong has nothing to do with me. You're an adult and you should be supporting yourself. Why are you hanging around me like a leech? Jinma sneered as he said this. The only person I can support legally is my woman. And his sister, a sister without feelings, was nothing to him. With that said, Jinma wanted to close the door. Jiang Ro saw how ruthless he was and knew that he really didn't care about their sibling relationship. She had bitterly guarded their sibling relationship because Jinma would dote on his sister. But now, he didn't like his sister at all. Jiang Ro didn't retreat. She nervously took deep breaths. Jinma wasn't in the mood to pay attention to her. He seemed to have heard the sound of Wei Bai walking away and instinctively turned around to look at her. But he saw that she had only gone to the kitchen to pour a cup of cold water. His gaze softened when he saw her slender and exquisite figure. His empty house. Finally, there was someone he could share with willingly. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. A gust of wind that made him want to vomit rushed towards him. His good exercise habits saved him. Almost instantly, he jumped away. Jiang Ro fell to the ground and hugged his calf with both hands. Jinma reflexively lifted his leg and kicked her out. Wei Bai had just taken a sip of water when she saw this shocking scene. Jiang Ro rolled out of the door like a ball. Jinma's face was gloomy. He didn't give Jiang Ro any chance to speak and slammed the door. Jiang Ro said, "Brother, I like you." She liked a man, not a brother. Before he could say anything, he was kicked out of the door by Jinma. Just as she was about to leave, she saw a familiar figure in Jinma's room. Jiang Ro's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was actually Wei Bai. Wei Bai was actually dating Jinma. She had tried her best to stay by Jinma's side for so many years, but she never had the chance to spend the night in his house. However, Wei Bai was wearing his clothes and sitting in his room naturally. She acted like the mistress of the house. Jiang Ro staggered to her feet and saw that the chicken soup she had boiled had spilled all over the floor. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and revealed her ferocious side. Wei Bai, just you wait. Jinma was hers. If he doesn't like her as a sister, then she would be his woman. They were a match made in heaven. No woman had ever stayed by Jinma's side for so many years. Only her. Right now, Jinma only had a momentary misunderstanding of her. As long as she could make him believe that she was still the gentle and pure Jiang Ro, he would still come back to her side. Jinma closed the door. He was in a bad mood. He had been so happy early in the morning, but Jiang Ro had ruined his mood. Jinma was full of grievances. He turned around and was about to complain to Wei Bai, but he saw that she was seriously rolling up his trousers. She had tied her white blouse in a knot around her waist. The loose shirt was cinched around her waist and the black trousers were rolled up. She looked unusually fresh and cute, even dashing. She didn't seem to notice Jinma's grievances. Instead, she quietly looked up at the door. Wei Wei Bai finally said, Jinma, I'm going back. Jinma took a deep breath and blinked. He didn't even hide the grievance in his eyes. Chapter 1203. When Wei Wei Bai confirmed her relationship with Jinma, the internet was in an uproar. It had been going on all along. But this time, it was a collective uproar, so the effects were continuous. The reason was that Wei Wei Bai's fans started to show off. Our sister Wei is so beautiful in the second round. She's not nervous at all. It's just one person with a guitar, but the stage effects are so good. The song is so good. I Love You has maintained a super high standard of composition. Oh, Mom, look at Jinma's eyes. You can see his desire through his sunglasses. Ha ha ha, he even asked to sing a duet with Sister Wei. Sister Wei doesn't care about him at all. Long live Sister Wei, our dog-beating group will always protect you. Wei Wei Bai's writing style and Jinma's were polar opposites. Therefore, their fan groups did not overlap much. As a result, the fans who liked to listen to Wei Wei Bai's songs did not listen to Jinma's songs. Jinma's angel group had some fans who listened to Wei Wei Bai's songs. But unlike the dog-beating group, they did not have a fanatical following for Wei Wei Bai. So when the two sides fought, they did not hold back at all. Because Wei Wei Bai had always been the victim of the angel group's online violence. Before she became popular, she did not have many fans and could not resist such a huge attack. But Good Song, the most watched program in the country, was broadcasted. But Bai Weiwei was a well-deserved dark horse with a good song. Every song was so popular that it was frightening. That Confession became the hottest new song of the year. Before Jinma's new album was released. Her song had simply put all the new songs on the internet to death by 1,000 cuts. The number of downloads, views, and spread started to explode. In the age of the internet, popularity was often something that happened overnight. Anyway, Wei Wei Bai's fans increased by a few million. In addition, because of the Angels' attack, Wei Wei Bai attracted a lot of attention. Wei Wei Bai had always been on the hot search list. The number of fans kept on increasing. After all, black and red were still red. As long as there was a topic, there would be traffic. This was an era where traffic was king. The day that Jinma announced that he was in a relationship was the day that the dog-beating group was formed. Because that was the day that Wei Wei Bai had rejected Jinma. Then Jinma didn't give up. He desperately tried to hook up with Bai Weiwei, using an awkward way that made people unable to bear to look at him. He desperately tried to stick to Bai Weiwei. This made the dog-beating group the only fan group that could go against the Angels and completely crush them. My MOMO is number 1 in Asia and number 2 in the world. Your MOMO is a lick. Dog. The Angels knelt in unison. If you kneel for too long, you will also rebel. Especially after the second round of live broadcasts of Good Songs. Bai Weiwei's dazzling and blinding results, and her straightforward promotion method. Jinma could not bear to look at his goddess. The Angels knelt until their knees were crushed. They knew that it was useless to shout on Weibo and ask Jinma not to lick. They had to do something substantial to embarrass Wei Wei Bai. They had to make Jinma dislike Wei Wei Bai. Otherwise, they would become a bootlicker group for the rest of their lives and be tortured by the dog-beating group. Spontaneously, the Angels formed a group to collect Wei Wei Bai's dirt. Wei Wei Bai was not in the industry. Damn it, there was no dirt on her. They dug up the plagiarism incident. However, Jiang Ro revealed that she stole Wei Wei Bai's Confession song. This made them not dare to stand on the same side. Slash. Chapter 1204. In addition, the gurus on the internet had dug out the two songs, Tender Love and Confession, for analysis. They had always thought that the melody and style of these two songs were good. They were of the same origin. Jiang Ro's theft had been exposed. Although the truth about the plagiarism of Tender Love had not been revealed yet. But the bootlickers, angels, still had a tacit understanding not to criticize Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai used the strength of her songs to slap faces. Every song she participated in was better than Tender Love. They could not criticize her. So the angels had no choice but to look through Wei Wei Bai's Weibo. Because they still remembered that Wei Wei Bai had shamelessly tried to blackmail Oh Jinma and said that she was dating Oh Jinma. This was something that they had criticized before and did not have a deep impression of. Now, to fight to the death with the dog-beating group. They could only be thick-skinned and dig up old scores. Scandals were not afraid of being old. It was fine as long as it was useful. Then the bootlickers, angels, finally found the Weibo post that Wei Wei Bai used to say that she was dating Oh Jinma. The strange thing was that this Weibo post was clearly the most badly scolded. But it was not deleted and was still hanging in the air. The angels immediately took it out. Your Wei Wei is shameless. Didn't you see that she used to post that she was dating Momo? Blackmail, delusional, liar. The dog-beating group also saw this Weibo post. They immediately retaliated. Didn't it all come true? Your Oh Jinma can't wait to date her now. We don't care. The angels, look, Wei Wei Bai used to have a lot of comments about our Momo's music. She also reposted many of his Weibo posts. She's the bootlicker. These Weibo posts were dug up one by one. People on the internet slowly realized that Wei Wei Bai used to like Oh Jinma very much. Even her music was because of Oh Jinma's influence. And besides that Weibo post about blackmail dating. And Jiang Ro's Weibo post. She hardly had any black spots. If he could not sell his songs, he would work to support himself. Before participating in a good song, no matter how miserable it was, they would not make a single mistake. Moreover, the cat she was raising now was a stray cat. Oh Jinma's Weibo posts were all dug up. The most shocking Weibo post was a photo of Wei Wei Bai squatting at the entrance of Oh Jinma's book signing event. She had been squatting at the door since 3 or 4 in the morning so that she could queue up to see Oh Jinma. On Weibo, she was holding 2 cold steamed buns in her hands. She didn't even have soy milk for breakfast. She had Oh Jinma's album with her. Moreover, it was a limited edition and very expensive. The angels and the dog-beating team fell silent at the same time. Everyone was a fan. When they saw her Weibo, they knew that Wei Wei Bai was not pretending. It was only because she was a true fan of Oh Jinma that she could do this. The angels, Wei Wei Bai is Oh Jinma's loyal fan. The dog-beating team, it's all in the past. Our Wei Wei is no longer a fan of Oh Jinma. This sentence slapped the angels in the face again. However, many of the angels could not bear to continue scolding her. After all, Wei Wei Bai was a loyal fan. Even after she scammed Oh Jinma's Weibo, there were no traces of her being a fan of Oh Jinma. However, she looked so pitiful as she squatted at the entrance of the book signing event with cold steamed buns in her hands. It still aroused their sympathy. Wei Wei Bai must have been too much of a fan of Oh Jinma. That was why she scammed Oh Jinma. Then, she was awakened by their scolding and turned into an anti-fan. It was too tragic. Too pitiful. The crossover system, Adonis, come here. 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 The mobile reading is at https://com//the crossover system, Adonis, come here. Chapter 1205. Then, Jean-Ma started to become a bootlicker, chaser, fall in love. Instantly, fans from both sides came up with a bunch of drama in their minds. Wei Wei Bai was Jean-Ma's fan. She liked Jean-Ma so much that she wanted to fall in love with him. Everyone understood. Wasn't it natural for one to fantasize about their idol being together with them? It was just that Wei Wei Bai said it out loud. No one laughed at each other. Then, Wei Wei Bai suddenly woke up and stopped being Jean-Ma's fan. But at this moment, Jean-Ma woke up. He was an old virgin angel, a pure cutie who didn't know anything about the world. He suddenly felt that the girl who turned from a fan to a hater. She was not pretentious and was completely different from those flirtatious B*cheese outside. His heart was moved. How could it be wrong when it was written like that on Weibo? Then, he started to chase after his first love and even confessed on Weibo. But Wei Wei Bai had just turned into a hater and was embarrassed, so she rejected him. This was the absolute model of an angel falling in love with a Cinderella. As for Jean-Ma's image, it collapsed. What collapsed? That was growing up. An angel became a bootlicker because of love. Wasn't this normal? He was pure and unpretentious. He was pure and had never been in love. So he didn't know how to fall in love and became a bootlicker. Those who knew how to fall in love and were mature and elegant were all experienced drivers. So, their MOMO was still a pure and cute little angel who didn't know anything about the world except for love. The filter of the angel group's fans was as thick as the distance between heaven and earth. At a glance, it was boundless. Suddenly, even Wei Wei Bai didn't seem so detestable. In fact, she was a little cute. She was a little talented. She was a little pure. The woman MOMO liked was also a good person. The dog-beating team watched from beginning to end and suddenly realized. The angel group's change from a bootlicker group was so natural and unpretentious. Shouldn't they struggle? Shouldn't they be angry? They were all holding machetes and sticks, waiting for the angels to counterattack. In the end, the atmosphere became warm. Of course, Jean-Ma's fan club was not just one style. There were also some female fans who couldn't stand it. She even wanted everyone to work together to kick Wei Wei Bai out of the entertainment industry. Then, she would turn Jean-Ma back into that little angel who didn't know anything and didn't feel like a ship with any woman. In the end, most of the angels turned to Wei Wei Bai as passers-by, and some even turned into fans. This made some of his girlfriend's fans unhappy. I've been his fan for so many years. How could he betray us? He stayed up all night to hit the charts, spent all his living expenses, and bought so many albums. How can he fall in love? Quit being fans, we want to quit being fans. The voices of the fans who wanted to call Jean-Ma hubby were getting louder and louder. Even the higher-ups of Changxing were alarmed. This was because Jean-Ma's fans were dropping. Although compared to the huge number of fans, this wasn't a lot. However, this group of fans was the most radical and the loudest. Some fans who didn't have bad feelings towards Jean-Ma's relationship. They were also influenced and started to quit being fans. Some fans were especially easy to incite and would accidentally quit being fans. Moreover, the most important music festival of the year was about to start. Jean-Ma was nominated for Best Album, Best Male Singer, Best Songwriter, Most Popular Male Singer, and more than 10 other awards. This awards ceremony was more fair and influential. Save button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1206. With such a big incident happening to Oh Jinmo, the company was worried that it would affect the award ceremony. The higher-ups called Oh Jinmo. Fans have to leave, because the person you're dating is by Weiwei. Weiwei Bai was a newcomer after all. And although her online reputation had improved recently, many people did not have a good impression of her. More importantly, many fans left because they felt that Weiwei Bai was not good enough for Oh Jinmo. When Oh Jinmo heard this, he tightened his grip on the phone. After a moment of silence, he laughed coldly. So be it. Tell them to get lost. I don't care. With that, he hung up the phone. Then, he supported his forehead with his hand in annoyance, and his eyes darkened. Actually, he cared a lot. His fans were his pillar of support. They were the foundation of his foothold in the entertainment industry. He did not even dare to go on Weibo, because he was afraid that his image as a little angel would be destroyed. His fans did not love him. Out of the hundreds of millions of fans, he estimated that 80 million had left. The remaining 10 million fans might still reluctantly follow him because of his songs. What about the remaining 10 million fans? Those were all zombie fans that he had bought. Oh Jinmo looked arrogant, but he had an inferiority complex. So he did not know that only a small portion of his fans had left. It was a drop in the ocean compared to his 80 million fans. He did not even believe in his own talent. The experience of being abandoned in his childhood left a deep scar in his heart. Even if he told himself that it was not his fault, deep down in his heart, he would still think that he was not good enough. Oh Jinmo sat on the sofa for a long time. Suddenly, he remembered that tonight's music award ceremony. This award ceremony was quite important. Although he had received it a few times, tonight was different. Because the female companion he brought to the awards ceremony today was by Weiwei. He thought of the evening gown that he had given her. His Adam's apple bobbed. This was the first gift he had given her. Although they had just confirmed their relationship. However, she did not agree to live together. She insisted on going back to that shabby rental house to raise that ugly cat. Strangely enough, he did not turn into a cat after catching up on sleep today. This miraculous ability finally lost its effect. Oh Jinmo did not know whether to feel relieved or regretful. He put on his suit and tie and tidied his hair. Actually, this was the process of sorting out oneself. After he arrived at the awards ceremony, his own packaging team would take care of him in a special dressing room. However, he was going to pick up Weiwei Bai, so he couldn't make things too awkward. A woman is pleased with her own appearance. It was the same for men. Oh Jinmo drove to pick her up. As he waited, he couldn't help but lean against the car door. Then, he lit a cigarette and frowned. He was still thinking about the matter of him not being a fan anymore. Moreover, he was worried that Weiwei Bai would once again be caught in a storm of public opinion. Weiwei Bai opened the door and walked out. Her makeup was light and ordinary, and the evening gown she was wearing draped down the contours of her beautiful body. Oh Jinmo looked over, but he could not take his eyes off her. Usually, Weiwei Bai would not dress so exquisitely and formally. However, she was already exceptionally elegant and charming. Therefore, he did not know that when she dressed up seriously, she would actually be so stunning. The sapphire blue V-neck gown shone with an exquisite texture of velvet. The fabric that clung to her elegant figure neatly wrapped around her waist, bringing out her slender waist. Her ankle-length skirt had a wavy cut, and every time she moved, it would always be there. As she swayed, her fair and delicate ankles were exposed. She was sexy and innocent. Miraculously, it was a combination of her body. Wei Wei Bai saw that he was staring at her for a long time, but he did not say anything. The cigarette was held between his slender fingers. The smoke enshrouded his beautiful eyes, bringing out a tinge of gentleness. "What's wrong?" She walked over in a few steps and reached out to take the cigarette in his hand. Oh Jinma stared at her deeply for a long time before saying, "Nothing. When I see you, everything is fine." He opened the door and let Wei Wei Bai into the car. When he was about to start the car, he thought of something and took out a jewelry box from beside the car seat. He opened it. It was a sky blue diamond-shaped gem necklace. "Let me put it on for you." Wei Wei Bai glanced at it. "I can't afford to lose it." "You don't have to wear it." Oh Jinma smiled. "It's not the sponsor's. It's mine." He had specially bought it for her. Wei Wei Bai hesitated for a moment. She wanted to reject it, but she could already feel the cold touch on her neck. Oh Jinma bent down and put the necklace on for her. His breath caressed her neck. The man's breath invaded her body in a domineering manner. "Wei Wei," he said softly. Wei Wei Bai's attention was still on the necklace. Oh Jinma had already lowered his head and planted a kiss on her collarbone. Her body trembled. Oh Jinma had already said, "Don't be afraid of losing it. I can afford to raise you." Ding, the male lead's affection has increased to 80. When he saw her, his panic and inferiority disappeared. Even if he had 90 million fans and 10 million zombie fans, they all left him. As long as he looked at her, he actually felt happy. Transmigration system, male god, come here. Transmigration system, male god, come here. / transmigration system, male god, come here. Transmigration system, male god, come here. Transmigration system, male god, come here, comma. Chapter 1207. Because they had to walk the red carpet and because Oh Jinma was the first to walk the red carpet. Hence, the schedule was very tight. Oh Jinma's assistant was very nervous because Oh Jinma would usually arrive at this time. But when he called, no one picked up. When he went home, he did not see anyone either. If this continued, there would be news of him acting like a big shot again. Now that there were so many things going on, they really could not let anything happen and tarnish Oh Jinma's image. Outside the red carpet, there was a thick circle of fans. They were all holding Oh Jinma signs. Because Oh Jinma did not have any fan meetings recently, there was no need to pick him up at the airport. The only chance to see their idol was on the red carpet. The red carpet had been specially designed. There was a section that was closer to the fans so that the idol could interact with the fans. And today, the fans came with a mission. They hoped that Oh Jinma would give them an explanation for his relationship with Wei Wei Bai. His girlfriend fans were quite strong. They had already occupied the front row and were eagerly waiting for their idol. Mo will walk the red carpet alone today, right? It's like this every year. Of course, he will be alone. Don't tell me he will be walking with Wei Wei Bai. I don't want to. That ugly Wei Wei Bai is not good enough for our Mo. Wei Wei Bai doesn't seem that ugly. She just looks a little petty and has good skin. Compared to our Mo's good looks, it's like comparing a chicken to a phoenix. Yes. If they walk the red carpet together, Wei Wei Bai's aura will be crushed. In that case, it's fine for them to walk the red carpet once. It'll be best if Mo makes Wei Wei Bai look like a village girl or an internet celebrity. Then, we'll take the photo and throw it at the dog-beating group's faces. Awesome! With that said, everyone was looking forward to seeing them walk the red carpet. After all, They had been chased by the dog-beating group every day and had developed feelings for each other. If they didn't return the favor, they wouldn't be able to take it lying down. Of course, the angels also felt that Jinma and Wei Bai would not walk the red carpet together. It was one thing for Wei Bai not to be invited. Jinma was still a fucking one-sided love. Talking about it made his heart bleed like a river. Was there such an idol who would stab their fans in such a way? It was one thing for him to fall in love, but if he became a bootlicker, he would be kicked away. This made them lose all face as fans. They had lost all face. Suddenly, the reporters in front started to clamor. They're coming, they're coming. Who's here? Jinma's car arrived. As the king of popularity and the king of strength, Jinma himself was a miracle. No one could sing as well as he did. The black car slowly drove in and stopped in front of the red carpet. On the driver's side, the door opened. The angel group immediately raised their heads in anticipation. Although they were here to get rid of their fans, they still had to suck up to them at the same time. It would be a waste not to suck up to them. Jinma swiftly got out of the car. He was wearing a navy blue suit. Under the slim-fit suit jacket was a white shirt without a tie. One button was unbuttoned, revealing his beautiful and fair neck. He calmly raised his eyes and looked around. Under his thick black eyelashes was a pair of amber eyes that were clean and deep. Jinma looked at the reporters and his angel group. His thin lips curved slightly, revealing a polite and distant smile. But it was surprisingly stunning. The angel group instantly forgot to get rid of their fans and only remembered to stare at him. Chapter 1208. With that face of his, everyone wanted to forgive him. They thought that Jinma was going to get off the car and walk on the red carpet. In the end, he casually adjusted his sleeves and walked elegantly to the passenger seat. He bent down slightly, and some of his short black hair fell down, making him look a little more wantonly cute for no reason. He opened the car door and placed his hand in front of the car door in a gentlemanly manner. He seemed to be waiting for something. A hand as delicate as white jade reached out from the car. Jinma smiled. It was no longer a polite and distant smile, but an irrepressible gentleness. He clenched his fist and used more strength to pull her out. Everyone's eyes were instantly filled with the beautiful sapphire blue. Wei Bai was caught off guard and was pulled out by Jinma. She stumbled, but he was already close to her, holding her slender waist with one hand. Then he lowered his head, his eyes half closed, and his smile was a little smug from a successful prank. Be careful, if you sprain your ankle, I can only carry you on the red carpet. Humans were all vile and vain. Now that he had her, he couldn't wait to carry her away and announce their relationship everywhere. Wei Bai blushed and immediately pushed him away. Then she steadied herself. Jinma, on the other hand, held her hand tightly. It was an intimate gesture. The cameras of the reporters started flashing. Wei Bai seemed to be a little uncomfortable. She looked at the dense crowd in confusion. Her long black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. She was wearing a long dress that was the same color as Jinma's. It was like a galaxy in the dark night. Jinma held her hand and walked step by step towards the red carpet. Under the bright lights, her fair cheeks were flushed and her thin lips were as delicate as a rose. Jinma held her hand and walked towards the reporters. The reporters were frantically taking photos. It was a normal process. Then he continued to hold her hand and walked forward. The red carpet was not long. In the past, Jinma couldn't wait to walk on it. Now, he hated the organizers for being so stingy. Why was the red carpet so short? Did they not have enough funds? The angels stared blankly at them walking over. Wei Wei Bai was walking on the red carpet with Oh Jinmo. Damn it, they were so compatible that they were completely speechless. She had never seen a female celebrity standing next to Oh Jinmo who would not lose out in comparison. Wei Wei Bai was the first. The angels looked on helplessly as Oh Jinmo ignored them and continued to walk forward. Suddenly, a fan couldn't take it and started crying. "Mo, are you really in a relationship?" Oh Jinmo paused, he turned back, and gave him a blissful smile. "Yes, you to wish me well." His usual methods of comforting his fans were well practiced. But this time, he wanted fans. The fans shouted one after another, "How can we bless you? Bai Weiwei doesn't deserve you, we won't admit it. Stop being fans. We want to stop being fans. Boycott Weiwei Bai. We won't be fans of you if you're in a relationship." The fans were very agitated. Even the security guards came to chase them away. Oh Jinmo's smile didn't change, but his gaze turned colder. Just as he was about to explode, a hand gently caressed his chin. Oh Jinmo was caught off guard and lowered his head. A kiss was on his lips. His breathing paused as he saw Bai Weiwei lean on him, raising her head to kiss him. On the long red carpet, there was a lively crowd. The beautiful girl kissed Oh Jinmo gently. This scene was so heartwarming and beautiful, it was like a fairy tale. After Wei Wei Bai finished kissing him, she left his lips and turned to look at the fans. "It's fine if you guys stop being fans. I'll be his fan." Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 1209. Her eyes were still smiling, but her expression was extremely calm. She said coldly, "Even if no one in this world likes him, he still has me. It's not up to you to threaten him." The fans were stunned by Wei Wei Bai's cold words for a moment. She looked away and met Oh Jinmo's complicated gaze. "Let's go. Don't be in a bad mood because of these irrelevant things." She actually knew that he was upset because of the fans. Oh Jinmo's heart was suddenly thrown into warm water, and a warm feeling filled his eyes. All his emotions turned into a simple action. He held her hand and lifted it. His lips touched the back of her hand, and he planted a sincere kiss on it. And his eyes, from start to finish, never left her. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 85. After walking the red carpet, they entered the venue where the awards ceremony was held. The stars were shining brightly, and it was extravagant and gorgeous. Oh Jinmo and Wei Wei Bai sat in the front row, and there was a table beside them with champagne and Western food. The waiters were busy, refilling the champagne that ran out and changing the dishes that were cold. Although there was a lot of social interaction and not many people were eating, everything was there. The process was very fast. For Wei Wei Bai, it had nothing to do with her. After acting cool for a while, he gained a wave of favorable impression points. Her mind was still thinking about that strange side mission. This mission was really strange. Whatever secret Su Yehuan had, it had nothing to do with Oh Jinmo's main mission. Although there had been such missions before. But Wei Wei Bai had a sharp feeling. The main system wanted to kill her so much that it wouldn't give her a simple side mission to fool her. She was already used to being tortured. The host on the stage announced the big stars who were giving out the awards. That kind of heavyweight senior would go up and sing a duet with the host. Then they entered the most important stage of the awards ceremony. At the beginning, it was all relatively small awards. Oh Jinmo wasn't nervous, and his attention wasn't even on the awards ceremony. She kept staring at Wei Wei Bai. He handed her a towel and asked the waiter to change the cold food. She also ordered some vegetable salad and fruit juice. He poured himself a glass of champagne and did not touch it. Wei Wei Bai ate something. While everyone else was staring at the podium, Jinma was staring at his girlfriend and telling her to eat more. Because Wei Wei Bai had to put on her makeup and put on her gown, she was delayed and had not eaten yet. After he found out, he stared at her as she ate. She had been having a hard time for a long time, and her 3 meals were not normal. He ate a lot of junk food like instant noodles. He was afraid that she would spoil her stomach and would not allow her to live the same life as before. The host called his name twice in a row before he reacted. After that, it was Jinma's turn to leave the stage after receiving her award. She poured Wei Wei Bai an extra glass of juice. He was called up again. She called his name again and again. Every time, he would go up right after he came down. Jinma finally couldn't take it anymore. He stopped reciting his lines and said, "What other awards are there? Give them to me together." The host? Jinma held the trophy in his hand. "How many more awards have I won?" His expression was gloomy and his tone was cold. It was the host's first time seeing a celebrity who had just received an award. His expression was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Under Jinma's threatening gaze, the host made an exception and gave his award to him together. Jinma carried a pile of trophies and hurried off the stage. Button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 12:10. After stuffing the trophy to his assistant, he sat beside Wei Wei Bai and peeled prawns for her. "This prawn meat is very delicious. I've eaten it before." Wei Wei Bai was speechless for a moment before she tasted it. It was indeed delicious. The assistant next to him and the host on the stage were already stunned. If you want to show off your love, go home and do it. Showing off in public. The single Meow Meow was going to protest. Besides, who would eat at an award ceremony? Even if there's a feast on the table, don't you know? Everyone was elegant. They didn't eat and just drank. Did they really think that this was a restaurant? No matter what, Jinma still tried his best to awkwardly show off his affection. His entire body exuded the hormones of love. He couldn't wait to hang his name tag on Wei Wei Bai. It was best to let the reporters take a few more photos, so that Wei Wei Bai would not be able to change her mind about liking him. It would be best if they could become the most affectionate couple in the entertainment industry. Even if Wei Wei Bai regretted it in the future, if she dared to abandon him, the public opinion of the entertainment industry would scold her to death. Then she would regret it and turn back. Jinma felt that he was really smart. After the award ceremony ended, Jinma personally drove Wei Wei Bai home. "You have to move, right now. Your rental house is not safe." She would rather die than cohabit with him. Jinma wanted to tie her up with a rope. What if something happened to that shabby rental house? Wei Wei Bai said, "When I sell the songs and have more money in my account, I'll choose a better location." Jinma gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Can't you just move over?" Actually, if she moved to his house, it would be very beneficial for her to increase her favorability. But when she thought of the side mission, she suppressed her impulse and shook her head gently. "I'll support myself. I don't want others to say that you're my sugar daddy." Jinma muttered unhappily, "I want to be your sugar daddy." Tomorrow, he would ask someone to book a song with Wei Wei Bai at a very high price. She immediately became a rich woman. Wei Wei Bai couldn't help but laugh when she heard his childish complaints. Jinma's eyes darkened. Her smile still made him feel unreal. They were really together. Even though the car had slowed down to a snail's pace, he still sent her to the door. After Wei Wei Bai got out of the car, Oh Jinma casually lifted the hem of her dress. It's late. You should go back first. Wei Wei Bai stood at the door and looked at him gently. Oh Jinma blushed and breathed heavily. How about I stay and protect you? Wei Wei Bai had already opened the door. She looked him up and down and already knew what he was thinking. 100 for a sticker. She couldn't afford it. Therefore, Wei Wei Bai firmly refused. I'm tired, Jean Mo, just a simple mention of Jean Mo and he immediately surrendered. He lowered his head and kissed her cheek. Then he complained, I'll definitely make you move. The two of them were reluctant to part. After a while, Wei Wei Bai closed the door. She turned off Oh Jinma's resentful face. Wei Wei Bai yawned, removed her makeup, chatted with the system, fed the cat and posted a song on Weibo. Then she took a shower and went to bed. Oh Jinma walked to the car and called the bodyguards. Soon, 3 bodyguards arrived. Oh Jinma looked at them coldly. Guard this place well. The 3 of them took turns to guard this place. Nothing serious would happen. Oh Jinma had just returned home. Just as the car was about to enter the villa, a female ghost-like figure rushed over. He immediately stepped on the brakes and took a closer look. It was Jiang Ro. She was haunting him. Oh Jinma was about to step on the accelerator and run over her. Anyway, Jiang Ro definitely wouldn't dare to be run over by him. However, Jiang Ro shouted, Brother, I'm here to admit my mistake. I stole the song, Qing Lian. Oh Jinma was silent for a moment before he drove the car into the garage. Then he said to Jiang Ro, come in and explain. He opened the door and didn't care about Jiang Ro. He went straight to the TV to find a tape recorder. He hid it so well that no one would find it. He pressed the switch. Jiang Ro had just entered the house and didn't see what he did. Jiang Ro really put in a lot of effort to enter the house. You're saying that you stole the song, Qing Lian, from Wei Wei Bai. Jiang Ro was afraid of being chased out. She thought of her motive and her eyes hardened. Yes, I stole it. Oh Jinma's eyes were extremely cold. He casually took out a bottle of mineral water from the fridge and asked casually, how did you steal it? Tell me clearly. Jiang Ro immediately explained the entire process clearly. Oh Jinma heard what he wanted and slowly drank the water. Then he sneered, you can leave now. Jiang Ro didn't say anything. Oh Jinma turned around and saw a scene that made his 3 views shatter. Jiang Ro actually took off her clothes and stood in front of him naked. Her face was full of tears. Brother, I love you. Oh Jinma, even a dog couldn't break him down like this. The save button there. Chapter 12:11. Jiang Ro was naked and looked pitiful. She cried pitifully. It's so hard for me to love you. Oh Jinma was speechless. She took 2 steps forward and Oh Jinma took 3 steps back. Jiang Ro was a little anxious and wanted to pounce on him. Brother, don't you pity me? I love you so much. Oh Jinma felt that his worldview was crumbling. He was disgusted. He rushed to the house's alarm system and pressed the alarm button without hesitation. Suddenly, the villa was filled with the shrill sound of the alarm. Oh Jinma was separated by the sofa and did not even look at her. He said angrily, Jiang Ro, stop joking. Don't force me to kill you. He felt that she had the courage to take revenge with a knife. But how did she think of such a despicable and disgusting thing like taking off his clothes in front of her own brother? When he thought of the past, his half-sister by his side, who shared the same father but a different mother, had actually harbored such frightening thoughts about him. Oh Jinma felt like he had stepped on dog shit. It made him feel disgusted. Jiang Ro saw the disgust in his eyes. Outside the villa, there were many security guards' footsteps. She knew that the alarm system would not stop once it was pressed. It would only stop when the owner was confirmed to be safe. Someone was already pressing the doorbell. Sir, are you okay? Oh, Jinma pointed at the door. Get lost. Get as far away as you can. Jiang Ro had no choice but to put on her clothes immediately. At the same time, the door opened. The security guards immediately rushed in and asked, Sir, are you okay? Oh, Jinma said to them coldly, mark this woman as a key evil guest. Don't let her near this area in the future. The security measures in the villa area were very strict. This was also the reason why the villas here were the most expensive. When the security guards saw that it was Jiang Ro, they were a little surprised. However, the owner of the villa was Oh Jinma. Hence, even though Jiang Ro was Oh Jinma's younger sister, they still followed the rules. Jiang Ro was quickly sent out. She opened her mouth several times, wanting to say that she was not his sister. But when she saw the disgust on his face, she knew that if she said it, he wouldn't do it. She might not be able to get Oh Jinma's love, but only his ruthlessness. In fact, she was forced to do such a stupid thing because she was forced into a dead end. Oh Jinma's ban meant that she had no income. She and her mother were used to living a good life and were used to being extravagant. He was not used to such a poor life at all. Moreover, she did not know how to write songs at all. She had no talent and the songs she wrote were like trash. She also felt that Oh Jinma might have a different opinion of her after being with her for so many years. Unexpectedly, he still lost the bet. He liked Wei Bai and didn't like her. Jiang Ro was thrown out, looking battered and exhausted. She saw others looking at her with disdain. She couldn't stand it and covered her face, then turned around and left. Oh Jinma had goosebumps. He was disgusted. He immediately called the cleaning company and asked them to send someone over to clean the entire place. When the cleaning staff came over and finished cleaning, it was already past midnight. Oh Jinma had the time to record those words. He entered them into the computer. He even deleted the words of Jiang Ro taking off her clothes and saying that she loved him. He couldn't let Wei Bai know. Otherwise, she would think that his family was full of perverts. He cut the process of Jiang Ro stealing Wei Bai's song. He also cut out the words of how to destroy the original manuscript. Then, he immediately opened Weibo. He thought about how to write a good Weibo post to prove Wei Bai's innocence. // Chapter 12:12. When Oh Jinma thought of Jiang Ro, he felt disgusted and nauseous. He immediately opened Wei Bai's Weibo. He wanted to look at her Weibo to cleanse his soul. Wei Bai rarely posted on Weibo. She didn't even take selfies. Before Oh Jinma opened her Weibo, he suddenly saw that the comments under his Weibo were weird. I was wrong, emo. I hope you are happy. Congratulations to our bootlickers for finally licking our goddess. Wei Bai is very good. Mo, we will definitely not stop being fans. Oh Jinma. When he went to attend the award ceremony tonight, there were still a bunch of fans outside saying that they would no longer be fans. Oh Jinma didn't know how many fans he had lost. He didn't go on Weibo at all during this period. The company's higher-ups had already given up on correcting him. They didn't dare to bother him at all. He looked at his fans. They didn't drop but increased. Although the number of fans was large and it didn't increase by much, he had already announced that he wouldn't be an angel anymore. He was going to fall in love. Why were there still so many fans who didn't stop being fans? Oh, Jinma looked at Weibo for a while and saw the trending topics. There shouldn't be any suspense about the trending topics. After all, he had won more than 10 awards tonight. 6 of them were heavyweight awards. He should still be the top trending topic. But he was the second trending topic. And the declaration that he would no longer be a fan was the 7th trending topic. The 3rd trending topic was the Angel Group's Weibo congratulating Oh Jinma and Wei Wei Bai on their relationship. Oh Jinma stared at the top trending topic. It was Wei Wei Bai's. The rest of my life is you. Accompany you, love you. Glory, splendor, wealth, and status are you. Plain tea is you. Together, our hearts will never change. Oh Jinma, I still have a long life. Please guide me. She released a new song and posted it on Weibo. The title of the song was, The Rest of My Life Is You. There was a photo under the text. It was the hands of the two of them, their fingers interlaced and tightly clasped. Oh Jinma had no idea when she had taken the photo. Looking at this posture, it seemed that he was holding her hand and blocking the cameras of some reporters for her. Wei Wei Bai slapped it with one hand. The photo was a little blurry, but it didn't detract from their intimate posture. Oh Jinma stared at her blankly. The warm feeling in his chest finally rushed to his eyes. Was he touched or happy? Even he couldn't explain it clearly. Oh Jinma covered his eyes and put on his earphones. He began to listen to the song. Her voice was gentle and refreshing, and the song was simply a classic. It was better than any of her songs. But more importantly, the love in her singing simply overflowed from the song. This song may be covered by countless people in the future, but there will definitely be no one who can sing it with the feeling of Wei Wei Bai. This is not a song. This is love. Oh Jinma supported his eyes with his fingers and tears welled up in his eyes. He suddenly retracted the evidence of Jiang Ro's theft and did not publish it. It was too warm tonight. It was not suitable for Jiang Ro's disgusting matter to spoil the mood. Oh Jinma felt that he would publish it tomorrow, so he started to play the piano. His fingers played a series of beautiful notes. These weren't the cool and mysterious notes. It wasn't his usual style. It was a different kind of sweet and beautiful melody. Oh Jinma had never felt so happy when composing a song. It was as if pink bubbles were floating in the air. The song was quickly formed and completed in one go. There wasn't a single flaw. Chapter 12-13. This was the song that Oh Jinma was most satisfied with. He didn't even have time to put down the album. Instead, he turned on his computer and started to record the song. He matched the sound of his piano. The song was completed in one take. He posted it on Weibo. My life with you, morning and night, drinking soy milk and fried dough sticks, talking about lyrics and music, raising a big face cat. Wei Wei Bai, I don't dare to teach you, I just want to hold your hand. The song was called The Rest of My Life with You. If Wei Wei Bai's Weibo account and classic love song made all the angels acknowledge her, then Oh Jinma's Weibo account and a love song that successfully became popular made the entire internet go crazy. They were evenly matched. The two songs were actually not inferior to each other in terms of popularity. In the weak music industry, Oh Jinma was like a precious treasure. Then came the genius Wei Wei Bai. In an instant, countless passers-by fans flooded in. They didn't care about the angels and dog-beating groups. They rushed in and had the absolute advantage. They were the Ma Bai couple, Wang Daowan. This is a super sweet genius couple worth being fans for a lifetime. Little ones, get up and eat candy. In an instant, all kinds of fans, pictures, and edited videos exploded. The two songs, My Life With You and My Life With You, went on the front page of all the major magazines overnight. The numbers killed any song in seconds. Oh Jinma in Love, Wei Wei Bai responded. It became the biggest event of the year in the entertainment industry, forming the biggest craze on the internet. Because of the presence of Bai Weiwei and Oh Jinma, the Good Songs program instantly became the most eye-catching program. When the director of Good Songs received the news in the middle of the night, he jumped out of bed happily. He knew that even if the program was terrible in the future, as long as Wei Wei Bai and Oh Jinma existed, the program would be guaranteed to have the highest viewership ratings of the year. Because who listened to songs? Everyone was looking for candy. The director was so happy that he even filmed the interaction between Wei Wei Bai and Oh Jinma on the show. At that time, Wei Wei Bai had not accepted Oh Jinma's advances. So the two of them weren't that sweet, but who was the director? Even enemies could be edited into gay friends. Cut, cut, cut. He must cut out a sweet relationship. The director had become one of the core members of the Malbai couple. After Oh Jinma posted the song on Weibo, she was so excited that she didn't know what to do. There was only one thought in his mind. He wanted to see her. I really, really want to. Oh Jinma even picked up his phone, wanting to call her. Tell her that I miss her very much. It was the first time he liked someone so much that he couldn't stand being apart for even a second. So this was what love was like. He completely understood the feelings of those damn composers who only knew how to write love songs. If he was with Wei Wei Bai, he could come up with a love song in a day, and it didn't even have a credit card. Oh Jinma's fingers were already pressing her number in his phone, but he couldn't bear to send it. He was afraid that she was asleep, tired, and resting. If he called her rashly, he would disturb her sleep. Oh Jinma's fingers loosened, tightened, and loosened. In the end, he couldn't help but send a text message. I was afraid that you would be asleep, so I didn't dare to call. I just wanted to tell you that I miss you. Good night. He still did such a mushy thing. After Oh Jinma sent the text message, he lay on the bed. He still remembered their intertwined memories on this bed. Just the memory of her quietly closing her eyes and lying beside him made his whole body heat up. Is at https://www.sashu.com. Chapter 12:14. He pulled the pillow that she had been using into his arms. He pretended that it was Wei Wei Bai and then buried his face into the pillow. There was no smell of her anymore. Oh Jinma was still happily rubbing like a cat. After rubbing for a while, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Why did he feel that his face was covered in fur and the pillow was not soft anymore? Oh Jinma was shocked. He opened his eyes and found himself in a familiar cat bed. He was holding a piece of dried fish and rubbing his face. Oh Jinma was stunned for a moment. He stuffed the dried fish into the cat's mouth and tasted it. It was not bad. Then he carefully jumped out of the cat bed and saw Wei Wei Bai lying on the bed. The blanket on her body had fallen to the ground. He sighed. Why didn't she know how to take care of herself? He struggled to bite the blanket and pull it to climb onto the bed. It took him a lot of effort to cover her body with the blanket again. He sat on the bed and watched her sleep with her eyes closed. Her face without makeup was not as exquisite as before, but it was as beautiful as a lotus flower. It made people feel comfortable just looking at her. He gently reached out his paws and retracted them. He used his paws to stroke her hair. Her glossy hair slid under his cat paws. Oh Jinma carefully crawled under the blanket and then curled up into a ball beside her. It looked like she was hugging him. Her warm body made him squint his eyes in satisfaction. Wei Wei Bai seemed to have felt his arrival. In her sleep, her hand gently rested on his furry body. He leaned against her chest and let out a comfortable purr. Then Jinma closed his eyes and slowly fell asleep. Happiness and security occupied his body at the same time. Ding, the male lead's favorability has increased to 90. Wei Wei Bai opened her eyes and saw the cat beside her. His cat head was shamelessly rubbing against her chest. The corner of her mouth twitched. She really wanted to throw this shameless cat out of here. But seeing the favorability increase, she could only resist this impulse. The system suddenly said, "The side mission has been halted." Wei Wei Bai was also vexed by this. Yes, the favorability is rising too quickly. I really don't have a clue about the side quest. After all, it was Su Yehua's little secret. It didn't sound difficult, but the secret was unknown. The person involved tried his best to hide it. But there were so many secrets in a human's life. What kind of secrets did the side quest require? There were no clues at all. The only clue was the side quest. But so far, the only small task was to drink Jinma's water in front of Su Yehuan. She felt that this small mission was purely to make Su Yehuan jealous and Jinma smug. Could it be that the little secret was that Su Ye loved her to death? And she was too slow to notice. Wei Wei Bai thought for a moment, and she couldn't help but close her eyes. She yawned. I don't care. I'll think about it tomorrow. I'm going to rest first. There was still more than half a year left. Her favorability mission was about to be completed, and only a side mission was left. Wei Wei Bai felt that this couldn't be better. She reached out and touched Jinma, then closed her eyes and went to sleep. The system opened its third eye to observe Su Yehua. As expected, it couldn't see her. Once the side quest was involved, it was no longer under its jurisdiction. It couldn't see Su Yehua's situation. The system looked at Wei Wei Bai sleeping soundly, and as it watched, it became sleepy too. When she woke up the next day, Jinma had already gone back. Wei Wei Bai finished feeding the cat and was about to go out to throw the trash. She saw a familiar figure standing at the door. Wei Wei Bai's eyes lit up. Wasn't this Su Yehua? Her side quest. When Su Yehua saw Wei Wei Bai, he couldn't help but smile gently. Wei Wei, I'm here to take a look at the cat. Wei Wei Bai immediately opened the door and let him take a look at the cat. Your medical skills are very good. The cat is fine now. Except for the serious injury to its leg, it was a little lame. Basically, the cat had already recovered. Su Yehua squatted down and carefully examined the cat. Then he nodded. It's fine now. I'm relieved. Wei Wei Bai nodded. Doctor, do you want some tea? I'll pour you a cup. Just as she turned around, her hand was suddenly grabbed. Wei Wei Bai turned around and saw Su Yehua nervously holding her hand. The gentle smile on his face was gone, and he looked a little uneasy. Wei Wei, I want to tell you that I like you. Just as he finished speaking, the half-open door was suddenly pushed open and a cold, handsome face appeared. Who did you say you like? Jinma's voice was low and filled with a dangerous chill. To read the ad, https://www.sashu.com/ to read the full article at https://www.sashu.com to read the full article at https://www.sashu.com to read the full article at https://m.sashu.com save button, comma. Chapter 12:15. After he finished speaking, Jinma realized what made him angry. Wei Wei Bai stood there in a daze. Her hand was actually being held by Su Yehuan. Jinma's eyes darkened. If he hadn't come so early in the morning to pick her up, was his head about to turn green? Moreover, Wei Wei Bai didn't resist and just let him hold her hand. He was angry and aggrieved. He rushed forward and pushed Su Yehuan away, then snatched her hand away. Why are you letting him hold your hand? You're being taken advantage of. Jinma quickly used his sleeve to wipe her fair hand. He used so much force that the back of her hand turned red. Wei Wei Bai frowned and hissed, "Jinma, it hurts a little." Jinma immediately stopped and lowered his head. "I used too much force. It doesn't hurt anymore." Su Yehuan stood alone in front of them. The lonely dog looked at the pair of lovey-dovey lovers. Su Yedo, had an awkward and sad expression on his face. He looked at their hands and then at Wei Wei Bai. Then he said softly, "I'll go back first. But I still want you to think about it. After all, I think I'm very suitable for you." Without waiting for Wei Wei Bai to reply, Jinma stretched out his long legs and was already in front of Su Yehuan. He was slightly taller than Su Yehuan. His eyes were half closed and filled with darkness. "You're courting death by coming here. How dare you covet my woman? You must be tired of living too comfortably." He wasn't boasting. If he really wanted to kill a doctor, he could still fight until Su Yehuan left the city like a stray dog. Su Yehuan pursed her lips and looked at him expressionlessly. Then he turned away and looked at Wei Wei Bai. "Are you sure he's suitable for you?" Bai Weiwei was just about to reply to the show of affection. The side mission suddenly sounded. "Ding, please tell Su Yehuan that it's not suitable. You can make up the rest of the conversation." Was this mission mocking her? If she said that it was not suitable, Jinma shouldn't have exploded. She finally understood that Jinma had a very explosive personality. It was just that many people didn't know that he usually suppressed it. He even made up the rest of the conversation. "How? I'll make it up for you." Wei Wei Bai sneered in her heart. Then she hesitated and glanced at Jinma. Jinma had already turned around. That look in his eyes was as sharp as a knife, glinting brightly. Bai Weiwei endured his terrifying gaze and said hesitantly, "He's not suitable for me." She didn't even continue to make up the conversation. Jinma's expression changed. He looked at her in disbelief, and then at Su Yi. Could it be that Bai Weiwei accepted this damn doctor's confession? She didn't want him. Adulterer. Lecher. He couldn't bear to scold Wei Wei Bai. Jinma immediately unleashed all his anger on Su Yehuan. He clenched his fingers into a fist and punched towards Su Yedan's damned white face. Su Yehuan didn't notice and was hit so hard that she staggered a few steps back and fell to the ground. Her nose started to bleed. He looked at Jinma in a daze. He didn't seem to be able to react. Wei Wei Bai felt that Jinma's actions were off the charts. She didn't even finish her sentence. He had already started to use violence against Su Yehuan. She quickly went forward, but she didn't even take a few steps. Jinma had already turned around. His expression was cold and tense. His eyes were dark and scary. There was a sharp hostility. Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 12:16. His ferocious aura was similar to that of a murder scene. "Wait till I'm done with this bastard mistress, then I'll settle the score with you." She already said that she was not suitable for him. They were definitely going to break up. No way. Then, Jinma squatted down and grabbed Su Yidwan's collar with a strength that almost strangled him to death. Su Yidwan suffocated and saw his eyes filled with murderous intent. Su Yidwan, I'll say it one more time. If you dare to have anything to do with Wei Wei again, I'll kill you. His voice was low and cold, sending chills down one's spine. Su Yidwan's face was full of blood. He breathed heavily and looked at Jinma gloomily. The atmosphere was tense, and there was a chill in the air that could explode at any moment. Suddenly, a slender hand held a handkerchief and gently pressed on Su Yidwan's nose to stop the blood from flowing out. Su Yidwan trembled and looked up in disbelief. However, he saw a slightly worried face appear beside him. When she was close to him, there was a faint fragrance coming from her body. It smelled good. She did not have any makeup on, but her skin was fair and flawless. It was natural and elegant. Su Yidwan looked at Wei Wei Bai in a daze for a while. However, he realized that Wei Wei Bai was pressing on his nose with one hand. Her other hand was gently pressing on Jinma's mouth. Jinma's eyes were still filled with hostility. However, his mouth was pressed down by Wei Wei Bai. He licked her soft and boneless fingers the moment he opened his mouth. His breathing became heavier. The threatening words were stuck in her fingers and she could not say them. Wei Wei Bai frowned. Can't you listen to me? Really, you've never had a good temper. Her words were filled with disdain, but they were also intimate. After that, Wei Wei Bai did not care about Jinma anymore. Instead, he squatted beside Su Yidwan and said in a calm voice, Doctor, Jinma and I are indeed not compatible. However, there are more than 7 billion people in this world. Is there anyone whose character is compatible with another person? Her voice was so calm and even cold. But it was surprisingly gentle. Being suitable isn't a necessary condition to love someone. It's just that when I see that person, I feel that there's someone as brilliant as a rainbow in this world. No one can replace him. Her expression was indifferent, but her eyes were filled with love. I met that person who is as beautiful as a rainbow to me. It's my fortune to be with him. Su Yidwan's eyes were filled with astonishment at first, but slowly, however, he couldn't move his eyes away and could only look at Wei Wei Bai. She loosened her grip and the handkerchief fell into Su Yidwan's hand. The nosebleed had stopped. Wei Wei Bai smiled. So I hope you can meet that person in the future, but it won't be me. Su Yidwan was silent for a while, looking at her with a complicated expression. Wei Wei Bai felt a little strange. Goosebumps appeared on her skin. Dr. Su's eyes seemed to be a little enthusiastic. Suddenly, a hand reached out from behind her and hugged her. A gloomy face appeared over her shoulder. Okay, are you guys done chatting? If you're done, can you get lost quickly? Jinma hugged her tightly, full of possessiveness. Su Yidwan glanced at Jinma, then slowly got up and wiped his nose with the handkerchief. He lowered his eyes, thinking about something. Then, he said gently, I'm leaving first. Wei Wei, you're really what? Wei Wei Bai's ears were about to stand up. The side mission was revealed by Su Yidwan herself. Although there were still a few months to a year, her affinity with him was already so high. /save button. Chapter 12:17. If you are not careful, you will fail the side mission. Once you complete the main mission, you have to complete the side mission too. It was the same in so many different worlds. But Su Yidwan didn't say anything. Instead, he pushed open the door and left. Bai Weiwei anxiously watched him leave. She hated people who left their words hanging. This was no different from the people in TV dramas who said that the murderer was, and then died. It was just disgusting. Wei Wei Bai's face was suddenly turned around by Oh Jinmo. His face was gloomy. What are you looking at? I can't bear to. Wei Wei Bai immediately blinked. Her face was distorted by him. Oh Jinmo was still angry. He lowered his head and kissed her. After kissing her, she still felt stuffy. He kissed her again. Wei Wei Bai couldn't stand him being so clingy. She pushed him away with her hands. Oh Jinmo was angry. He hugged her and sat on the floor, refusing to let go. Wei Wei Bai rested her head on his chest. She felt that his arms were shockingly strong. His heart was beating very fast. She didn't know if it was because he was angry or excited. Jinmo, I don't have any other intentions towards Su Yedwan. I just want to thank him for saving my cat. Oh Jinmo snorted. You should give him money instead of owing him a favor. One look and you can tell that he's not a good person. Wei Wei Bai reached out and slid her fingertips across his neck and Adam's apple. Oh Jinmo narrowed his eyes. He looked like a lazy big cat, but there was a tinge of aggression in his eyes. Wei Wei Bai's voice became soft and sweet. I'm just like this to you. Oh Jinmo felt that he was being teased to death. He immediately put his hands under her knees and lifted her up. Then he turned around and pressed her onto the bed. Wei Wei Bai, this was too easy to tease. What did he want to do in broad daylight? Oh Jinmo's amber eyes were burning with passion. He held her face in his hands and lowered his head, his lips almost touching hers. Am I your rainbow? Wei Wei Bai's eyes widened in shock. Then she nodded. Who else could it be but you? Hearing this, Oh Jinmo was silent for a while. Then, he kissed her on the lips. His breath blew on her face, and his voice was low and hoarse. Yes, you are also my rainbow. Ding, favorability is at 92. Her favorability towards him increased again, the system coughed lightly. Do you want to buy stickers? Wei Wei Bai hesitated, but Oh Jinmo's hand had already touched her thing. He rested his head on her neck. His muscles were trembling and his voice was hoarse. Wei Wei, are you okay? Wei Wei Bai rejected him seriously to save the stickers. No. Oh Jinmo was silent for a moment before he nodded. Then he took out his belt and tied one of her hands to the railing of the bed. Then he raised his head. His amber eyes were stained with a scorching dark color. His thin lips curved into a seductive smile. I think it's okay. He said no and tied her wrists, afraid that she would run away. It was as if he could tie her up like this. Wei Wei Bai felt that she couldn't save the stickers. Should she buy one, Tongzi? Wei Wei Bai cried out in pain. The system, it was blocked. Recently, it had increased its efforts to eliminate pornography. Basically, the system would be blocked as soon as it took off half of its clothes. The host should be fine, right? The blocked system thought as it chewed on its instant noodles. Wei Wei Bai thought that Wei Wei Bai Oh Jinmo would be more restrained and would be able to wrap things up after one round. The save button at the bottom to record this reading. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.